Very good evening, one and all, and welcome to our stream. Here we are again. We're doing another list review show for one of the tournaments coming up this weekend, and in this occasion, we are going to be hitting Woehammer. Thank you very much if you're joining us this evening. As always, please leave us a follow, and any comments you do say, we'll try and pick up on as we go through the lists. We always love the audience interaction. It helps us out so much. It makes it feel so much more fluid. Before we start, though, let me just introduce Jason, my co-host tonight. Jason, how are you tonight?
I'm good. Got the obligatory seasonal cough, but I'm good. So if you see me mute, it's probably because of that. But I'm good. How about you?
I'm all good. I'm all good. It's been a stressful week. I'm sure, like many of us who are working and everything, trying to do that alongside our Warhammer activities. It's always a struggle, but we all get there, don't we? But enough of our personal lives and everything. I hope you're all good out there and you're looking forward to tonight's stream. The aim of the stream is basically to go over all the lists of the attendees who are attending the AoS part of Warhammer. Within that, we will be going over what it comprises of each list, what artifacts, grand strategies, mount traits, the whole caboodle, what the certain rules happen or can happen. And just to give you all an idea of what you may find when you approach your table and see who's on the opposite side. Jason, are you ready for us to start? Shall we get this underway?
Yeah, let's do this.
Before I do, I just want to say to Ultramata Man, Ben, spam away, sir. You're very welcome to spam away. We always like to see people chatting, so the more the merrier. But, right, before we do this, because I'm always oh so ready and prepared, let's just put that into the correct screen. And here we go. We are indeed reviewing the Rusty Hammer list show, review show, sorry, doing Warhammer AoS GT II. We assume it's GT2, sure it's not 11. We're going to go over the 5 battle plans that you'll be pitted up into. We just do a very quick 2-3 minutes on them just to get an idea of what to expect. The first battle plan you'll be facing off in, it will be the limited resources map. This is the one that when the player gains control of the objective, they start to siphon it off, essentially. And if you hold it for two turns in a row, it essentially becomes null defunct and you no longer can use it, and you have to move on. Scoring is fairly straightforward in this one with the 1-2 more and then your battle tactic on top of that. This is always quite an interesting one and also quite a curious one as well to start on with because it takes a lot of kind of mental preparation and idea of how you're going to set your armies up and how your forces are going to play around these to try and maximize those points. Jason, I know you've had some experience with this one as well, haven't you? Have you found this one easy at all?
I have found it easy, but that was because of the pre-planning.
Yeah.
I actually played this at the LGT where my opponent hadn't pre-thought what he was planning on doing. I had, so I quite easily moved around and took objectives and was able to maximize my points. Where on end of turn 2, he had already burnt both of his home objectives and one of the middle objectives.
Right.
You need to really give it a thought what you want to do, how you're going to play this game beforehand. It is really, really good map. Just for that, it's not just go and smash sort of thing. You have to really play strategically on this map.
You do, yeah, absolutely. Admittedly, sorry, go on, Jason.
That was it, really. I'm just saying I do really like this one, yeah.
Yeah, admittedly, as a Gits player myself, when I get loaded in with those stabbers, actually contest objectives outside of 9 inches is a pain in the proverbial arse. But, you work around what your army can and cannot do, and sometimes it's a bonus and sometimes it's a chore. But yes, one thing we would definitely say from our experience playing this attendees is plan ahead. Plan to a point. Don't do what I did, where I had an excellent battle plan, arrangement of how my army was going to set up, and I got to the table to realise there was a huge chunk of terrain, dead slap bang in the middle of my deployment zone, completely screwed up my idea. So go with a little bit of flexibility in your plans and everything, but generally, yes, planning ahead on this one will help you out no ends. Some comments on this one. Like we had Ben coming in saying he really likes this map. Very interesting start and good for fast-moving armies. Very true. I think Jason can contest that, considering he played a very fast army at LGT, comprising of a lot of sharks. Kakadoodie, how are you purposely losing objectives, though? AoS has sticky objectives. So the way you can do it in this one is that you almost entice your opponent to come and stand on an objective after you captured it with slightly more. So if you perhaps tiptoe onto it with 3 or 4 models, or perhaps even only one, they then, even just one. They only then need to bring 2 models on. It resets your counter, and then you can get it at another point. So it's kind of extending them. Also, try not to like Jason and I have said, like plan ahead. Your home objectives are fantastic opportunities to stay off on turn 1, maybe even turn 2, and come back to them on turn 3 and turn 4. And try and perhaps maximize those middle ones, or even try and go for the opponent's ones. At the same time, keep an eye on how your opponent is also doing his kind of siphoning and how many objectives he's got left, because sometimes he'll have to abandon them if he has not planned ahead. And then, oh my god, it's a Raptor, who is our other co-host, Michael, has said, I played this map at LGT, forgot the rules, and burnt my objectives like a fool. There you go, people. Case in point. Yeah. If you're not planning ahead, it may not bode well for you. Sorry, Michael.
You made a really good point there, Paul.
Yeah.
Play the opponent as well.
Yeah.
If they've got that center objective, sometimes it's worth losing it for a turn to null and void it for the rest of the game for the opponent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're playing for the long game here. And turn 4 and 5 can be instrumental in the success and victory of it. So yes, moving on to the next battle plan. This is the I can't actually see the second part. It's Fountain of Frost, is it, Jason? I can't actually see what the word says. Fountain of Frost. I've got my camera right slap bang there, and it's kind of covering a little bit of the wording. So this is the one where Antorian Locust units count as 10 models for the purpose of contesting objectives. At the start of each battle shock phase, you roll dice also for each objective that is contested by 3 or more units. And on a 4+, each unit suffers a D3 mortal wounds. You roll separately for each unit. Apart from that, though, standard rules apply for scoring with the 1, 2 more and your tactic. Now, I don't actually think I've ever actually played this one, Jason. What about you?
I've played it a very quick game against myself in TTS, my OBR versus my IDK.
Yeah.
It is very, very easy to get to 3 units because it doesn't say 3 of your units. If you've got a couple of units on there, the opponent can just charge a chaff unit in and nuke nuke your stuff as well.
Yeah.
So you have to play tactically and capture it with 1 unit, or screen it off so the enemy can't get any more units onto it. No, I was going to say, it's an interesting game mode. I did enjoy playing it. I thought it was hard trying to work out how to either hurt the opponent by getting to that 3 or stopping yourself getting blown up by it.
Yeah, exactly what I was just about to say. You could actually almost kind of endemically trick your opponent into taking it, and then you actually deliberately causing the mortal woundage to perhaps chip away at maybe a foot hero or some sort of weaker model or something like that, just to kind of put down a few wounds before you then go in for the attack. So there's possibilities there and everything. But other than that, though, I think this will be a good second match. After the fortness of the first one, this one seems just as enjoyable, but still a little bit tactical on the side as well. Any other thoughts, Jason?
I was just reading what Mike wrote. He played it on Tuesday with Kieran and did exactly what I said. Threw Bloodthirsters on it to set it off in my opponent's deployment. He also deployed 3 on his own accidentally. So he did it both ways.
When in doubt, sacrifice your own men. Sure, why not? Even if the enemy's not contesting it. Well done. It seems like a good one. Map 3 then is this is it's not Geoflux. It's Power Flux. That's it. Power Flux. He says moving his camera briefly. So this one is actually only like 2 objectives. It says there's 4, but ultimately you only need to really fighting for 2. And in this battle, basically, the players who can only score victory points on objectives that have been activated. And at the start of each battle round, the player going second must choose which pair is going to happen, either both A's or B's. So once again, this kind of like almost planning in advance if you know you're perhaps going to be down on points or something along those lines. And also the idea that if you get that priority dice roll, I've found, I don't know how you feel about this, Jason, I've found with this GHB in particular, it kind of really kind of forces the person who gets that option of priority as to do they go first and sacrifice their bonus for going second, because there's a couple battle plans in this one that actually kind of offer an incentive for going second. I know you and I have tried this one before. Any thoughts on this one at all?
My IDK army, going first and second, you do get little benefits, but I don't get much benefit because on this one, you choose which objective pairs. Well, I fly 14 inches with all my units, so I can still get across the board.
Mm-hmm.
For slower paced armies like OBR, choosing where to have the fight is very key.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one in itself, as long as you hold an A and a B, you're getting points no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that they don't explicitly say, but they do sort of if you read the rules correctly. So you can control A, and the opponent chooses B's. Fine. The next turn, if they choose A's, where you've got on that or not, you still control that unless the enemy takes it off you. The control of it still carries over. It's just you can't score points on it when it's not activated.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you could deploy on your one and push forward, sort of thing. As long as the enemy can't get to it, it's yours.
Yeah, in addition to that as well, the one thing we also point out on this one, scoring system slightly different. So you score one when you control one objective, score one victory point if control both objectives are active. You score an additional victory point if for each objective controlled by an Antorian locus model. And you get an additional one victory point if any enemy Antorian locuses were destroyed in that battle round. So there are some extra bonus points there that you may be able to accumulate if you weren't holding on to those objectives. So it's not all doom and gloom if you were being outnumbered or perhaps outpositioned on those, if you could perhaps take the advantage on some of those extra points. But this one...
One thing to say.
Yeah.
What you just reminded me on that. If you kill a locus in this battle round, if you go second, that will count for whoever goes first and second. If you go first, you score your points in that first point. So if you then kill a locus in the second turn of that battle round, you don't get the points.
No, that is... Yes, very true.
So there's another bonus for going second again. Just gives you a little bit more chance of killing more.
Absolutely. So yeah, that should be a good one. Moving on to the next one, which is every step forwards. This is one that we've played a couple of times at this end, where basically these rules apply, which basically means if a unit makes a charge, and to the end of that turn, they add one to the number of models, essentially add one to the amount that each model counts as while they're on the objective. But if you make any retreat whatsoever, it's a flat 0 for contesting purposes, and that does include units that can retreat and charge. This has been checked, this has been questioned, and it has been ruled that if you retreat and then charge back onto your objective, you still count as 0. So something to be aware of if you have that ability. Other than that, though, standard rules for the pointing with the 1, 2 more, and then your battle tactic. And other than that, though, apart from the ridiculously thin 2-inch line that you have when you've got your generally 9-inch difference between both deployment zones. Yes, that's right, that little slither of land that looks so promising and everything when you can only get 40 mil bases or less down there. We've checked. Yeah, it's harder than it seems when you're actually coming up setting up deployment, particularly when terrain is then also included into the mix. I know, Jason, you and I, we've played this one together and also in tournaments. Any thoughts on this one at all?
It's a lot closer than it looks. And by the way, 50 mil bases fit on that 2-inch gap. 50 mil is 2 inches.
Oh, that's true. Okay, yeah, no, good point, yeah.
So you can go up to 50. But those slithers are tiny when you look at them on the deployment zone.
Yep.
You have to be very careful because you can fit some units in it, but they're going to be on their own because the big units, the more important units sort of thing, can't fit in there with them.
No.
Objectives are really, really close to each other. So each pair is really close to each other. and really close. You can easily just fight quite happily in the middle and just push, and you only need a little push and you can get the whole thing. It is a really nice battle tactic. It forces you to think where you're going to put the bulk of your force. Are you going to go for their objectives, or are you going to basically just sit and hold?
Yeah, this one reminds me a lot of the one where in the last GHB where you had a home objective, which was like virtually accessible to both sides, and this one gives me that kind of reminiscent elements of it, particularly when I was playing. This was at LGT, wasn't it?
Yeah, we played this at LGT.
Yeah, it was at LGT, yeah. And it just gives me that kind of memory of the whole home objective being so close to the opponent as well as yourself. But it's a cool fun one.
Taking is the one we were talking about from last time.
What was that?
Ask for the Taking. That was the one you were talking about from last time.
Yeah, was that the one it was it? I enjoyed that one. But then again, I was playing Fire Slayers. Yeah. So yes, and then your final map then is the one that everybody loves playing, is the fifth and final map, Geomantic Pulse. This one is basically, so there's no available objective at the start of the game. You can still control an objective for 1 point, but that's pretty much that in the battle tactic for battle round 1. But at the start of the second battle round, after determining which player will take the first turn, the player taking the second turn will decide where the Geomantic Pulse starts, either A or B. As the game then goes on, the pulse moves in a methodical line across, and then you can get additional points, meaning that when, for example, A is moved in battle round 3 to the second point, you can get the point for controlling one objective, a point for controlling 2 or more objectives. No, that's actually wrong on there.
No, that's wrong.
That is wrong. I'm just feeling like, hang on a second, I played this too often. Yeah.
Yeah. Got 1 for controlling 1 objective, 2 for controlling the pulse, 1 for each of the adjacent to the pulse.
That's right.
2 for your battle tactic.
Yeah.
So effectively, in turn 3, if you hold the correct objectives, you can score 7 points.
That's
with
right.
Battle tactic.
Yeah. Apologies for that. There I was kind of just copy and pasting that in, and clearly I didn't do the double check on that one. Due diligence pays off, and clearly not on this occasion. But yeah, it's a very much case of, and I will say this one, that the first time I ever played this, I was utterly destroyed. And I learned my lesson and licked my wounds, and then came back much more prepared and systematically won it at LGT. My thoughts on this one is definitely the idea. It's pretty much like the first one. Plan like a move, a battle round, 2 battle rounds ahead, and plan as to where that pulse is going to maximize your points. And don't necessarily consider the outside objectives as important in battle round 1. It may be nice. I personally play for the inner objectives and then kind of controlled the progress, stopping the enemies from actually getting to the other end. Come battle round 5, I blocked the way and they just couldn't get through, winning me the game. So that's how I played it. Well, any thoughts for you, Jason?
With my OBR, slow, tough to beat army, I'm exactly the same. Move for those first 2, the middle 2 objectives, and in the nice way, sit. You can get so many points by just holding those 2 objectives.
Yeah.
For IDK, it's a bit different with the maneuverability, the flying, the speed. You can make the moves across quite easily.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I actually lost it just because of the pairings. Because, yeah, I played Seraphon 3 times.
Jason, who did you play at the LGT out of 5 matches?
Yeah, 3 Seraphon. Giants, I love playing the Giants. I loved the Giants. And then Gits.
3 Seraphon out of 5 matches.
3 Seraphon.
Swiss pairings 3 times. Our man here had to deal with Seraphon.
Yeah.
You had to salute him. Yeah, hard work. I'd have walked away after round 5 because I'm done. I'm not playing that again. But anyway, not that the Seraphon are a bad army, as we'll find out. They have a great potential. But yeah, so those are your 5 battle plans, ladies and gentlemen. We do hope you have an enjoyable time playing them. We certainly have enjoyed them in the past, and we'll continue to do so because they're going to be with us for at least another 9 months. But we'll now get on to the main part now, where we will be looking at the lists. As always, we encourage your thoughts and your ideas on each list as we go through them. We try not to give away any kind of sneaky ideas or tactics that the opponent could use. All we try and do is provide the information that is openly available to every user when they're looking through the app or the books. Here we go then. So we shall start from the top. Now I want to say thank you also to Pete from Woehammer. He's the one who's actually created these slides, and it saved us a hell of a lot of time as we normally systematically create our own slides. So thank you, Peter, for that. Really do appreciate it. On this one, Jason, do you want to just take us through it just quickly?
Yeah, can do.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Adam Baker, Seraphon, Fangs of Sotek, Grand Strat, Spellcasting Savant, keep your Andorian Locus General alive until the end of the game. I should say Fangs of Sotek, the ability for that one is you can use Redeploy 3 times. You don't pay for use 1 and 2, you only pay for use number 3. So if they do it twice, you don't pay. Which is really weird, really written, but I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. I will say, Paul, do you want to take over for a second? Because I'm going to cough for a second.
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason why I just asked Jason to do that is because I'm just bringing my notes up because I was so enthralled with actually trying to make sure that I had everything up that I forgot to bring my notes up. But here we go. So basically, this is a typical one you do see with this army. The grand strategy being spellcasting savant, meaning that they have to keep the Antorian Locus alive. With that in mind, they will then also, as you can see, have the Slan Starmaster and Lord Croak and Gotrek. Now, Gotrek is fundamentally a great addition to any Seraphon army. The reason being is quite simply he can hold the turret, he can hold his position, whereas Lord Croak and Slan Starmaster will likely stand back. It's the idea that they'll just do the magic. Well, so Gotrek, and of course the other sort of warriors he has in there, the Skinks, the Source Warriors, and Source Guard. Oh, Source Guard will stay back, but the Skinks and Source Warriors will go and support Gotrek in this one. At the same time, though, he has got these in Antorian Acolytes, giving him the extra primal dice. He's got them in the Warlord Battalion.
Yeah, cameras aren't working.
Cameras are not working. You know why? Because I did that. That's right. It'll come back in a second, guys. It's just been through. There we go. Thank you.
Yes,
thank you.
Yes.
So basically, what you'll have here is they're in a Warlord Battalion as well, giving them a 9 drop as opposed to going for a minimal drop. And it's a typical Seraphon build. Not that that's a bad thing at all. It is what you kind of expect when it comes to Starborn. Jason, having been a contender against these this particular army, any thoughts on it at all?
I played Battle 5, was a Seraphon Fangs of Sotek list with Gotrek. And wow, is it interesting. Obviously, Seraphon want to stay back, mortal wound, you magic you off the board, fine. Then you chuck Gotrek in there, who wants to just literally be in your face and just smash. It is the weirdest mix, but it works so well.
It does.
Especially as he's got Saurus Guard in there, he's got warriors, he's got skinks, he's got basically the whole collection in there. It is a really nice list. However much I cry because mortal wounds against IDK is just, yeah. It is a really nice list. It does exactly what it needs to do. It will just mortal everything off the board. Absolutely. And you're going to find it hard to get through what he has in front of his magic casters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now that I've actually got my notes up and everything, I can now act as if I knew exactly what I was going to say and what I was going to do. So no one knew any better there, did you? So for those who don't play Seraphon, the Fangs of Sotek means that they can, the actual sub-faction means they can use redeploy up to 3 times. The first 2 times they use it, it doesn't cost them a command point. When they use it the 3rd time, it will cost them a command point. Guess what most Seraphon players do? As we said about the Grand Strat, we already know about that one. The command trait in this instance is each time a spell is successfully cast that is not unbound, or they successfully unbind a spell or end a spell, you receive 2 cosmic power points instead of the 1. In this range of spells, though, he has got Comet's Call. That's a casting value of 7 and no range. Instead, they pick D3 units, and if it's 10 plus on the spell casting, it's D6 units, and each of those units take D3 mortal wounds. Cosmic Crush is a casting value of 7 and a 12-inch range. They get to pick an enemy unit and roll a dice for each model in the unit. And for each roll that exceeds that unit's save roll, they take a mortal wound. So great for the 2+, 3+ armor saves, more chance. Drain Magic is one we don't see too often in this one, but he has selected in this instance. Casting value of 6, and basically, if successfully cast until the end of the phase, each time a friendly wizard is picked to cast a spell, instead of attempting to cast that spell, they can attempt to dispel an endless spell. If they do so, they add 1 to the dispelling roll. In addition, until the end of that phase, it's a -1 for unbinding rolls made for enemy units. Basically, really, that's what we see in this one. Like we've said before, and one thing we would say as well is skinks. When they actually run or retreat, they actually roll 2 dice and they can pick which one of the dice they want to use. But it's a solid list. It works. We see it time and time again doing really well. So we totally understand why, Adam, you have chosen to do this. And we'll just say on that one, good luck on that one, definitely. Moving on, we're now into Adam Hargrave. Adam Hargrave is bringing Bone Splitters in the Icebone subfaction, and he's taking the Grand Strategy of War. So the Icebone subfaction basically means that any unmodified wound roll of 6 made by a melee weapon does mortal wounds outright, in line with the damage that is normally expected. So it's just outright mortal wounds. The Grand Strategy is War, which means basically a general or a battle line unit has to be wholly in the enemy territory. Very doable a lot of the time. He's gone with the command trait of Great Hunter, which means that if the general is part of your army, it is part of your army, why wouldn't he be? When they use the Tireless Tracker's battle trait, they can move up to 8 inches instead of 5. So Tireless Trackers for the Bone Splitters basically means once everybody's set up and in the first battle round, they can move a 5-inch move. But with the general on the board on this one, they can move 8 inches instead. In this instance, we see that he actually has brought in one of the regiments of renown. He actually has the Big Cracks Cruel Shots, which is a Beast Skewer Killbow in the leader slot. He has Word God Prophet, as you would love to see, with the Glowing Tattoos. Glowing Tattoos means he has a 4-up ward save instead of a 6-up standard. He has the spell Glowing Green Tusks, which is a casting value of 5 and an 18-inch range. He gets to pick 1 friendly boar unit and basically makes the boars rend an additional -2, meaning they're hitting on -3 rend. He then also has Horfrost, which we all know about that one. He has a Wardock, also bringing in Horfrost and Merciless Blizzard. Maniac Weirnob with the Weird Amount trait, which basically means this model has a ward of 4 up against mortal wounds caused by spells or abilities of endless spells. It's a little bit niche, but still usable. He also has Gorkamorka's Warcry, which is casting value of 7 and a 12-inch range, and basically you pick 1 enemy unit in the following combat phase. They fight at the end of the phase, essentially a strike last capability. Moving on, then we have a Savage Big Boss, who is his general, and a further Wardock, this time with Levitate, which is a spell that allows units to fly, and a Merciless Blizzard. Battle line wise, he's then taking 10 Savage Boar Boys, 10 Savage Oryx, another 10 Savage Oryx, and then filling up with the regiments of renown. He then has the Manskewer Bolt Boys in there as part of Big Crack Cruel Shots, 2 sets of that because they become part of the regiment of renown, and then a further 10 Savage Boar Boy Maniacs and 10 Savage Boar Boy Maniacs. Coming in at 2,000 points on the nose with 11 drops. This one looks pretty cool. I've actually fought this type of army twice now in 2 separate tournaments, and it's a lot of bodies on the board. And it's just so amazing to see when they go in for the charge, because that's what Bone Splitters do best, get them into the charge and just let them hit the opponent hard. And it can be good. Admittedly, Adam, I do salute you for taking full Bone Splitters. They are struggling at the moment, and it's great to see people still kind of using them to try and show that they are versatile. I know at LGT I was actually beaten by Bone Splitter's army. It was the second time I'd faced this opponent, Chris Riley, and he played it really well. It was just an unfortunately bad day for me. But Jason, any thoughts on this one at all?
It's just nice to see actually different lists, which is really quite nice. You don't see Bone Splitters that much because they're a little bit harder to keep alive.
Yeah.
Simple as that, really. I think the Regiment of Renowned edition is really, really interesting in this army. I did double check it because we had to double check. Well, I just wanted to double check the rules myself because Oric's going into an Oric army, but it only matters it's Cruel Boys. So he can go into Bone Splitters, he can go into Iron Jaws.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just going to be a weird list to fight against. But one thing that you didn't say, which is one of my favourite abilities in this game, the Wergog Prophet Stinkface, the mask.
Absolutely. Do you want to describe how it goes?
Can I remember how it goes? Basically, it is. Have you actually got the details?
I've had it done to me multiple times. Before I do so, I just want to say a huge thank you to Dasmore Wargaming for raiding us with his little contingent of viewers and everything. You are our first raiding party of this stream, of this channel ever. So you can hold that in high accolades, sir. Welcome, and thank you very much for joining us in this one.
Thank you very much.
Wergog Prophet, though, he has what we call the old stink eye. Okay, basically he takes off his mask and instead of casting spell, he does mortal wounds. He rolls a dice. On a 2-up, he chooses an opponent. He has to choose this one opponent to go through all of this, each hero phase. He rolls a dice on a 2-up. He does D3 mortal wounds.
3-up.
On a 3-up, is it? 3-up.
I've just found the details for it.
That'd be cool. Okay. And so he does D3 mortal wounds. If he rolls a 1 or 2, though, he does D6 mortal wounds back to himself. Okay. It's cool. Thing is, though, he can then opt to continue this until either A, he wants to stop, B, the enemy unit is destroyed, or C, he kills himself. It's a very swingy game, but having it done to me, I have had a third of my army lifted by this in one battle. It was ridiculous. It can work. Other times I've seen the Wergog blow up incredibly quickly, but yes, it is a strong option to have, and I'll let you carry on that one, Jason.
Well, I've seen that particular thing lift 10 12 wound models, and you're just going on, really, how does that make sense? But it's that nice thing of, well, it may work, it may blow me up, but it may work. Let's have a bit of fun and just keep rolling and see what happens.
Hey,
it's always good fun.
It's destruction. It's exactly a destruction player. Go all in and hope for the best. But yeah, I hope you do well, Adam, on this one. It's a really great list, and it's nice to see Bone Splitters being taken out in a full army. So good luck. Moving on then, we are now going to be with Alex Ireland on this one. He is bringing... I haven't actually checked it, so there we go. Now that's better. He's bringing Magakin and Nurgle with the Befouling Host. Befouling Host essentially means that if your general is a demon, you can set up 2 Feculent Mobs instead of the 1. His grand strategy in this one is Corrupt Arcane Nexus. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if a friendly Nurgle Wizard is within 3 inches of the center of the battlefield and there are no enemy units within 6 inches of the center of the battlefield. Now, this is actually a curious one, and we don't see it that often. But in this list, we have got the Great Unclean One as his general. Excuse me. He's got the command trait of Nurgling Infestation, which essentially means that you subtract 1 for hit rolls for attacks that target this general. In addition, you add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by friendly Nurgling swarms that are wholly within 7 inches of this general. He then has opted to take the Bile Sword and the Plague Fail, which we will go into some details about shortly. He's gone with the Artifact of the Wither Stave, which essentially means add 1 to disease rolls for enemy units that are within 7 inches of the bearer. And then he's got the Spell the Flaming Weapon. We then actually see a second Great Unclean One, this time with Fleshy Abundance. Now, Fleshy Abundance has a casting roll of 6 and a 7-inch range. You roll 1 dice for each model in the unit that is within range of the caster, and for each 5-up, they suffer a mortal wound. He then has Be'lakor in there to provide some shenanigans, and a Horticulus Slimux in there as well, finishing up his leaders. He has 20 plague bearers, and then 3 beasts of Nurgle separately put in. And then he has the Emerald Life Swarm to give him some healing in there as well. Coming in with a battle regiment, but still on a 4-drop and 2k on the nose. This is a really interesting one to see because, as far as I'm aware, Jason, I have not seen the Grey Unclean one on any list in a long time. Well, particularly for the tournaments I've been attending. Any thoughts for yourself?
Seen a Grey Unclean one once when I first started. Haven't seen one since. It is such a big model. It's such an imposing piece on the board. But with 18 wounds and the 4-up save, it doesn't go anywhere very fast at all.
No.
And it does hit hard. It is really quite nice. Beasts of Nurgle, they're fine. Their battle line, they're fairly cheap battle line there. That's fine. Be'lakor, it's a weird addition to the army, but it could work so well to get a bit of actual speed and mobility, and like has happened to me, the shutdown for one turn, possibly 2. Depending on how
you use it. Yeah.
It could do really well, but I mean, you are, if you imagine it, you're looking at 4 heroes, 1 like decent size battle line, and then 3 random small battle line. It's not a huge army, but Nurgle never is really.
No. The one thing I would point out is the Horticulous Slimux is a great synergizer with the Beast of Nurgle. Essentially, he has a thing called Beast Handler, which allows the Beast of Nurgle to reroll charges whilst they're wholly within 14 inches. And in addition, he also provides a +1 attack to those units as well. So it's kind of buffing them up at the same time. He also has a little bonus spell called Acidic Slime Trail, which doesn't actually help any of his units, but basically if he retreats out of combat, each enemy unit within 3 inches takes on a 2-up, takes D3 mortal wounds. So yeah, but I agree with you, like Be'lakor is in there, and I've always been a very 50-50 for Be'lakor. He has that great ability which he can really shut down an enemy unit for 1, like you said, maybe even 2 turns, depending on how it's used. But afterwards, he becomes almost semi-redundant in that, okay, he's still a larger model, he still has capability of doing attacks and everything, but I believe he's only like 14 wounds on a 4-up save. So, he's not the most sturdiest of monsters out there.
He can come down,
Yeah, exactly. The Grey Unclean ones I'm curious on, though. They only have a 4-inch move standard. But the idea that with this one, he's gone with the bar sword and the plague flail on that one. But then he's also got a Doomsday Bell and the plague flail. Now, if you consider the idea that with the bell, it's 5 attacks, 3 threes, -1 for damage 2. And a note to that one, at the start of the hero phase, he rolls a d6 because he has the bell. On a 1, it does nothing. On a 2 to 5, he gets an extra contagion point. And on a 6, he gets d3 extra contagion points. Nice little buff and boost there. And then the flail itself is 5 attacks, 3 threes, -1 for 3 damage. On top of that, each of those grows, we'll call them grows because that's what they are, they have Nurglings attached to them, 15 attacks. Okay, it's 5 5s, no rend for 1 damage, but it's just a little bit more chip damage on that one. And nothing to say about his Noxious Bars. Okay, it's a 7-inch range, so it's close quarters. But you're talking d6 attacks, 3s, and then it starts on a 2 to wound, and then depending on the damage table, it depends on how it goes, -3 rend for 2 damage apiece. It has versatility. It really does. It'll be really interesting to see how Alex plays with this one in this instance, and hopefully shows that the Grey Unclean one still has traction in ultimately a time where we do not see them that often. Any further thoughts at all?
4-inch movement, you know this from your Fire Slayers, can easily get you up the board. An auto run. That makes the Grey Unclean one move 10 inches.
Mm-hmm.
All this sort of stuff. There are ways of getting the speed in there, even with a slow unit like that. So don't think it's going to take all the game to move up the board.
Yeah.
It will get there.
You'll get that.
And then you got to deal with it.
Well, that's true.
I do like it.
The other thing is worth to consider as well when if you play against these, the Grey Unclean one. Okay, Nurgle will naturally get a 5+ ward save, but for the grows, unmodified ward save rolls of 6 actually do disease point back to the enemy unit. So once again, a little bit of thing on there. And they also have their own monstrous action. And that's actually Mountain of Loathsome Flesh that they can activate. And what they do, they pick one enemy unit within 3 inches, and on 2 up, they suffer the mortal wounds based on the damage table, which starts at 4. So essentially, you're getting a guaranteed kind of 4 mortal wounds as opposed to Stomp, which is like D3. So, you know, once again, has the option to kind of do some chip damage before you go in with the main weapons. But yeah, good luck, Alex. This looks like a good one. We then move on. We now go to Baz. Now, Baz is someone that I know Jason and I have seen around a lot recently, and he's sticking to his Ogre tribes. He has gone with Underguts in this instance. Underguts subfaction means they get to improve the Ren characteristic for missile weapons used by the Lead Belchers and the Iron Blasters by an additional 1, and you'll see why in a second. His grand strategy in this instance, Ready for Plunder, which essentially means he has to have more friendly units in enemy territory than the enemy unit. In this instance, then, he then has a Frostlord and Stonehorn with the Rockmane Elder. The Rockmane Elder is a -1 to woundless model in melee. Straightforward, nice and simple. We like it. Slaughtermaster comes in with the Gruesome Trophy Rack for an artifact. Basically, this adds 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by friendly Gutbuster units who are wholly within 12 inches of the bearer that target a monster or hero. So it gives some options there. He then has the spell of Blubbergrub Stench, which actually I don't have here. So apologies there, Jason. Could you just check that one out for me, please?
I'll get that one, yeah.
Yeah, in the meantime, though, we've got the Firebelly with his Billowing Ash. That's a casting value of 6 and a 12-inch range. -1 to hit bubble for attacks against friendly units. It's a 12-inch bubble. At the same time, he also has his own personal spell called Cascading Firecloak. Its casting value of 5 and it has a 3-inch aura. Each enemy unit within range on the 4-up takes D3 mortal wounds. But primarily for the Firebelly, it gives a 5-up ward for him. He then has his general as the Icebrow Hunter of the Avalanche. Going into the battle line, he then has 3 sets of 2 Frost Sabers. And then this is where his subfaction comes into perfect synergy. 4 Iron Blasters. On the tail end of that, though, we have 20 Nobblers and the Great Maw Plot. He's brought in the Antorian Acolytes battalion, this one, and Grand Battery. Coming in at 12 drops, 2k on the nose once again. We haven't seen Iron Blasters come out in sets of 4 for a while, since points increases and things like that. But it's nice to see them making a bit of a return. Admittedly, if you're the opponent, perhaps not so much. But Jason, any thoughts at all?
Well, let me say the spell, Blubbergrub Stench, casting value of 5, range of 18. Until your next hero phase, when you within wholly within range of the caster, so 18-inch range.
Yeah.
Friendly Rhinox units, which are Iron Blasters.
Yeah.
Or Scrap Launchers. Treated as monsters for the purpose of the trampling charge for the impact hits, as well as contesting objectives, as well as can carry out monstrous rampages.
Wow. So that's pretty damn good spell.
So,
for those who are not aware, with the whole thing about ogres is that when they charge, they will do impact hits. They roll a number of dice equal to the charge roll that they rolled, and then basically for normal units, I believe it's on a 6, I think it is, you do the mortal wounds. But for monsters, it's on a 4-up. So that Stonehorn will be doing mortals on 4-up. And with that spell, if he was to charge Iron Blasters in and everything, they too would be doing the mortal wounds on 4-ups as well. But yeah, Jason, sorry, I did ask you, any thoughts?
Monsters are on a 4-up.
Yeah.
But if your charging unit is an ogre unit that has 3 or more models, it's on a 5-up. Otherwise, it's a 6-up.
Okay, there you go.
You'll be surprised at how much shooting, how much in your face you're going to get him in this one. I mean, the Iron Blasters want to shoot you, but don't be fooled. They will still try and jump at you. They will still try and jump and shoot you again. Frostlord we've seen before many times. Huge, big monster, great. Don't know much about the Firebelly and the Icebrow Hunter, but from what I'm reading, they are nice. I just don't know much about them. Frost Sabers, a bit of speed, a bit of objective control, possibly screens if need be. Only 2 units, and it can be a small screen, but you want to charge your units in anyway.
Yeah.
12 drop is interesting for ogres because normally you want to get that alpha strike, get that charge into the enemy, but it's not to say he won't get it still.
No, very true.
And if not, the enemy's just going to get a bit closer to you. So
yeah, it's a curious one on this one, I have to admit, and it's absolutely down to the individuals themselves as to how they kind of position their core battalions. If I was in a position, I probably would have tried to reduce the drop count, but this is destruction. So saying that, I've very regularly gone with max drops with my Gits army, and I can't say it's a bad thing. But like you said, the Frost Lord definitely it's worth its points and weight in gold. It's magnificent when he gets in there and strikes hard. If you consider the idea that the Frost Lord himself has the Frost Spear, that's 4 attacks, 3 threes, only -1 rend, but 3 damage. The note to put on this one though is any 6s to wound against any enemy heroes or monsters will cause a -1 attack on their melee weapons until the end of that phase. So that's always a nice kind of bonus on that one. But he also has the thing, not that...
Well.
Sorry?
The Icebrow Hunter can ambush with the Frost Sabers. So bit of even more speed in that army, which doesn't suffer from lack of speed anyway.
Yeah. No, exactly what Pete's just said in the chat as well. That the Icebrow Hunter has that opportunity to do that. You can also set up in reserve, yeah. So that's quite cool. Keep him safe for a little bit if you so wanted to. I know that at the LGT, I actually played against someone who had the Icebrow Hunter as his general. Did exactly that. It kept him off the table until I think about turn 2 or even turn 3. He was a very reserved Ogres player, the most reserved I've ever seen, considering he had 4 Stone Horns on the battlefield. But he didn't. But he brought him in, and like you said, brought 4 Frost Sabers on. And it kind of actually helped him out initially for the second turn. So it has opportunity there. Saying that though, Nobblers though, they'll just be great cannon fodder and chaff unit to soak up any incoming charges, potentially protecting those Iron Blasters. And the thing to remember, viewers, is that the Iron Blasters have 2 shot options. They can either have 2 attacks, which is hitting on 4s, wounding on 2s, -2 for D3 plus 3 damage, or 10 shots, 3 threes, -1 for 2. We have 4 Iron Blasters firing that much at you, you'll notice it. That's what I'm going to say on that one.
Blasters get an extra rend as well.
Yeah, that's true. Oh no, you're right. Yes, they do because of the thing. So okay, not so bad. -2 rend on that one.
-3 and -2 rend.
Yeah, absolutely.
That shot.
Yeah, that will kick through. That will kick through. But Baz, we know Baz does well with these sort of things, and he has been sticking with his ogres. So Baz, good luck with this one, and we hope you do well. Moving on then, we're now going on to Ben Adlam. He has brought Headlines of Slaanesh with the Pretenders. Now, with the Pretenders, essentially they get almost like a double bonus for their sub-faction. In this instance, at the start of hero phase, they take, when the general is on the battlefield, they take 3 command points instead of 1. And at the same time, the general can issue the same command up to 3 times, with no points being spent for the second or third time that he issues them. He's gone with the grand strategy of Selfish Desire, which we will see repeated in a couple of other armies. Basically, this means that as long as they don't summon any enemy units in, as long as they don't summon any units in, they get it. And this is, as a Slaanesh player, having carted around 2 armies before for them for summoning and everything, this is a great strategy if you don't want to be carting a second army around with you. The leaders, you've got Contorted Epitome. He has got the command trait of Strength of Godhood, which in this instance means that once per turn, if this general issues a command to a friendly Hedonizer Slaanesh unit, until the end of that turn, you improve your rend and damage characteristics by 1. He's then got the artifact of the Dark Crown of Secrets, which is always a nice one to have in this army. At the start of your first hero phase, you pick 1 enemy unit on the battlefield, and then for the rest of the battle, while that unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, their attacks characteristics are reduced to 1 throughout on their melee weapons. He then has a spell Flaming Weapon. He then has brought in Shalaxi Hellbane, who's brought in a spell Born of Damnation, casting value of 6. No range on this one, but essentially he rolls 6 dice, and for each 4 up, he gains an extra depravity point. He then has Sigvold coming in proud and strong, doing what Sigvold does best. Battle line wise, he has 2 units of 11 Blissbarb Archers, 10 Demonettes, and then that is reinforced with 5 Blissbarb Seekers, 10 Slick Blade Seekers, and then the Dreadful Visage as an endless spell. Coming in a battle regiment as a 1-drop, once again 2k on the nose. This is a well-rounded army in my opinion. Any thoughts there, Jason?
You know more about Slaanesh than me. I would say that artifact is amazing. I've had it before, and they used it on 6 Immortus Guard. They went from 18 attacks down to 6 attacks. They couldn't do anything the entire game. It is stupid. It's great, but stupid. Sigvold. He's always been really nice. He's a really nice character to have. The extra attacks on the charge is really cool, depending on getting better charges than you usually get.
Yep.
Blissbarbs are fine, as in they're nice shooting. Demonettes, they do their job. What does the Dreadful Visage do, though?
This is the one. I'll need to bring up the rules on this one because I haven't brought the details in with me. Do you want to actually bring them up whilst I just go through some details? Because what I was going to say is Sigvold. For those who do not know, Sigvold is essentially a unique hero, and he has the benefits of the idea that his attacks are either a flat 5 or equal to the charge roll that he creates. So he can get the hefty ones up. Now, if you consider the idea that his stats line is generally 2s, 3s, and -2 for 2 damage now, I think it is, as opposed to D3, he can swing hard. At the same time, his sword means that you cannot get any new award saves, or you can't negate the wounds that you take. The only one who can is Marathi. You can really. Sorry.
Or Gotret takes wounds down to 1.
Okay, it is down. Yeah, it is. But yeah, but he can't ward it off. So yeah, admittedly, yeah, he still reduce it down, but he can't ward them off. And then he then has a 4-up ward save himself, and he's a standard 3-up save, 4-up ward. So he's hefty. He's hefty. I love him. I really enjoy him being in an army. The Blissbarb Archers will do what they do best, run and shoot, and they will help bring up the depravity points. Demonettes have the ability to run and charge. They are a bit weak when it comes to actually maintaining the ability to take in an attack, but they are fast, so that's one thing about them. Blissbarb Seekers, shooting archers on horseback, or creature back, whatever you like to call them on this one. And the Slick Blade Seekers are essentially the combatty. In that unit of 10 Slick Blade Seekers, there's 40 wounds there on a 4-up save as standard. That is a lot to churn through. And they have a lot of potential output when they get in on the charge. Have you been able to find out about the endless spell?
So Dreadful Visage, casting value of 7, range of 12. It can move 8 inches and can fly. When it has moved, roll 6 dice for the closest unit within 6 inches. 4-up causes a mortal wound, and if any mortal wounds are caused by this ability, you get strike last. Also, you subtract 1 from bravery for enemy units within 12, and add 1 to bravery for Slaanesh units within 12.
Yep.
So, little debuff to the army, and also strike class, quite probable strike class, let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's quite 60 points. It's nice.
Yeah, like Shalaxi, I'll actually go into when we get to another list further on who someone else has brought Slaanesh with them, because he has opportunity now. And I'm surprised, like when this book first came out, the new book, a lot of people really poo-poo saying Shalaxi's still too expensive. Has come down in points, still quite pricey, but I am seeing him in lists, so it is good to see that this dear Greater Demon is actually getting some field time. Any final thoughts at all, though?
Nothing huge. I mean, like I said, it's a nice, well-rounded list. So I think it could do quite well, especially with their new book and everything. It will do well, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't see any kind of negativity on this one. I have my own thoughts on this. There's one reason why I currently don't put Slanesh on the battlefield, but that's through my own personal thoughts now more than anything. But it has potential, and Ben, we hope you do really well and you go far with it. Moving on, then we now have one of our own Rusty Nukers here, Benjamin Anderson, as well I like to call him, Mr. Anderson, because we have so many Bens in the Rusty Nukes. He's bringing Nighthorn though with the Emerald Host. Essentially, the Emerald Host sub-faction means that before the first battle round takes place, he gets to choose D3 plus 1 enemy units. At the end of every battle round, he rolls a D6 for each of those units, and on a 2-up, they suffer D3 mortal wounds. And if it's a monster, they suffer D3 plus 1 mortal wounds. He has come with the grand strategy of fight or flight, which actually, Jason, I don't have that on here. I'll continue in the meantime. Although Ben's actually in chat, so he can probably let us know.
Ben, let us know. You'll be
Ben, let us know. Leader-wise, he has a Krulghast Cruciator with the artifact Light Shard of the Harvest Moon, which is once per battle at the start of the combat phase. You can say to the bearer, will release the Baneful Gloom of the Light Shard. If you do so, add 1 to the attack's characteristics of melee weapons used by friendly units wholly within 12 inches of the bearer until the end of that phase. Nice. He then has Kurdos Valetian. It's a secret, Ben. You're not helping here, sir. You're not helping. It's Kurdos Valetian.
Grand strat.
Yeah, grand strat. Yeah.
Is when the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if one or more objectives are being contested by a friendly Nighthaunt unit, and there are no enemy units within 6 inches of any Nighthaunt units that are contesting an objective.
Okay. He has a Dreadblade Harrow. He actually has 2 Spirit Torments, but one of them actually has the Pendant of the Fell Wind. Now, the Pendant is essentially a -1 to wound for enemy units within 3 inches of the model. And then, as his general, he has the Guardian Souls with the Master of Magic command trait, which essentially allows re-rolling of either 1 casting, unbinding, or dispelling per hero phase. He then has the artifact of the Midnight Tome, which is for wizards only, and luckily enough, he is. Once per battle, if the bearer attempts to cast a spell that would summon an endless spell, that spell is automatically cast with a casting roll of 12 that cannot be modified, so you do not roll any dice, and it cannot be unbound. So when you want to get that thing on the board, it can happen. At the same time, though, he's then bringing in 2 units of 20 Grimghast Reapers, 10 Chain Rasps, 2 Chain Ghasts, 1 Black Coach, and then the endless spell Mortalis Terminexus. Coming in with 2 Warlord Battalions, he sits at 1980 with 11 drops. Now, Jason, I know we've seen this out and about a lot. I've actually played a similar list a few months back against Benjamin. It's a well-rounded one. I know he's been really trialing this one out. Any personal thoughts?
Sorry, it's making me giggle what Mike's written in the chat.
Ben saying, yeah.
A cool rule that if you kill a hero, he hits you with a shoe. I will say this: Ben knows his army well. He knows how to get all the buffs off right, all of the bubbles, everything like that, absolutely perfect. So,
yeah,
when we say these things could happen with Ben, I'm pretty sure they will happen. He knows what he's doing with this, and it is a very good list. If it goes off right, I feel like if it goes off right, which it should do, it is very dangerous. Sometimes they die a bit quick, which is exactly what he's saying. Nothing stops them from dying quickly, but that's part of the army. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
The way all this stuff is really nice. I do like it, and the double warlord with the to get the extra artifacts in there is really really good. Considering you don't care too much about drop count.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I really like this list.
Some information. Sorry. Absolutely. Some information about certain things. So the Mortalis Terminexus, for anyone who doesn't know, essentially it allows them to heal D3 or cause D3 mortal wounds on a 2-up after it moves, depending on which unit is within range. Now, Kurdos is an interesting character. He's 7 wounds on a 4-up save. He has 2 attack profiles, a Scepter, which is 5 attacks, 3 threes, -3 for 3 damage. And then he's got Claws, which are 6 attacks, 4, -1 for 1. But that's a really nice Scepter attack. He has a ruler, which is called If I Cannot Rule, No One Can. And at the start of the battle round, he rolls a dice. And if he adds 1 to the dice roll if Kurdos is within 6 inches of an enemy hero. On a 5-up, he essentially takes 1 of the command points off his opponent and adds it to himself. Great little bonus there. He has Dreadblade Harrow in there, who has Phantasmal Discorporation, which is essentially a teleport ability. Normal rules apply 9 inches away from opponents, so many inches away from terrain, etc. And he also has an ability called Curse of Loyalty, which essentially means that once per battle round, he can issue the same command a second time without costing a command point. The Spirit of Torment, on this one where he has 2 of them, they have this thing called Captured Soul Energy. So at the end of the combat phase, he picks 1 friendly unit wholly within 12 inches, and can heal up to 3 wounds on that unit. If there are no wounds to heal, he can opt to actually return slain models with wound characteristic of 3 or less, and he can bring back that many models up to 3. So it gives him a little bit of versatility in trying to keep his army going. And the great thing about Nighthorn is when they charge, they actually have a table that they reflect on depending on the charge roll, and it can be anything like there's -1 to hit, -1 to save, strike last. I can't remember if there's any others or what the others are, but it gives a lot of options when a Nighthorn player wants to charge in. And then the Black Coach itself also has options as well, which we will go into on a further list coming down. But like Jason said, Benjamin is a sound player when it comes to Nighthorn, and I expect he will do well. Yeah, I thought you might have done better, Ben. When I was writing out, I was like, I'm sure Ben's forgotten about that rule. So yes, don't forget your rules, guys. I do when I play my gits. And it's a pain in the ass when you realise after the battle's ended. Ben, sir, we salute you and we hope you do well, not just for yourself, but for us rusty nukes. Moving on, we've now got Benjamin Hall. He is bringing Slaves to Darkness with Knights of the Empty Throne. Essentially, this means his sub-faction means that mounted units can run and charge, and the Vanguard rally on a 5-up. Now, Benjamin's also another rusty nuker who's taking his army in there. And he's gone with the grand strategy of Overshadow, which essentially means he has to kill all the enemy battle line and have at least one of his own battle line alive. In this army, he has Be'lakor with Demonic Speed and Warp Reality. He has a Chaos Sorcerer Lord with the Mark of Tzeentch and a Chaos Familiar. The Chaos Familiar essentially means that once per battle he can cast an extra spell, and from that he can choose any spell from the lore book that the Chaos Sorcerer Lord can choose from. He has a Hoarfrost spell and Warp Reality. He then has a second Chaos Sorcerer Lord with Merciless Blizzard and Warp Reality and the Mark of Tzeentch once again, because why wouldn't you when it's the Sorcerers? He then has chosen to have one of his set of 6 Vanguard as his general unit. Now, he has put it up in leaders for the sake of showing it as a general, but ultimately it is still down in the battle line as well. He then didn't think that 6 Vanguard were enough, and he brings in another 6 Vanguard, because why wouldn't you, Ben? And then 2 units of 9 Corvus Cabal. And to finish it off, he then has a unit of 6 Furies and Geminids of Urgish in a battle regiment, 1 drop at 1990. Now, Vanguard hurts. So, unit 6 is bad enough. 12 of them on the battlefield is just wrong. Your thoughts there, Jason?
One thing you didn't say is one of the Vanguard has the Khorne mark, one of them has the Nurgle mark.
That's
the Nurgle
point.
mark is -1 to wound, I think it was. I'm just getting up.
That's right.
-1 to wound when you're within such a distance of him. I think it's 3 inches.
Yep.
The Khorne one is scary. So you add 1 to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons, Vanguard, if they charge. And they're going to want to charge you, especially run and charge.
Yeah.
So they get even more dangerous for that turn when they charge you. And I've played it before. They're scary when they get that, especially when you buff them up with everything else. It is a really, really strong list. It has a lot of power in there, a lot of speed. Yeah, I've struggled with this list. I've beaten this list before once, a list similar to this, and I also failed at a list like this a few times as well. So yeah, it's going to do well. It has to. The amount of force getting straight in people's faces.
Yeah, exactly. Ben is actually in the chat with us, and his simple thoughts on his army list is don't hate the player, hate the game. Yeah, we won't say what we think, Ben, but enough is enough. No, you're absolutely right. It's 2 units of 6 Vanguard, really does lead in with a big hit power. They have the ability to withstand a lot of the attacks as well. Considering that 6 Vanguard, when I was playing Flyer Slayers, deleted 40 wounds of Volkites in one combat phase, they have so much potential. So you can understand why Slave to Darkness army would have potentially this many Vanguard in it. You're paying the points for them, so you're almost putting all your eggs in one basket. But this is a very sturdy basket to be putting them in, and you can't fault an army list like this. Yeah, Benjamin, we hope you do well once again for yourself and for the Rusty Newts. You should burn in hell for such an army list, but we'll salute you nonetheless. And good luck, sir. Moving on then, we will now go on to Chris Park, who's taken a much more reasonable army in this one. Oh, wait a minute, before I even say that, I carry on this one. I say reasonable. Let's just see what he has, shall we? Chris Park has brought Gits with him, Glog's Mega Mob. Glog's Mega Mob essentially means that when they are on the point of regenerating, they get to regenerate not only just in the hero phase, but after they have fought in melee as well. That's for the trolls. He's gone with the grand strategy of chasing the moon, which means that his general must stay alive for the battle and have been affected by the light of the bad moon for at least 3 battle rounds. In this then, he has the good old dank old Trog boss as his general with the Alpha Trog, meaning that his Trog boss is now a monster with an additional 2 wounds. He then has the artifact of Glory House It, meaning that he has a 4-up ward save. You're now dealing with a monster that is on a 4-up standard, 3-up when he's under the light of the bad moon, and then a 4-up ward. You then have Madcap Shaman coming in with the Hand of Gork. Hand of Gork is a casting value of 6 and a 24-inch range. He chooses a friendly unit, and then he can teleport anywhere on the battlefield, 9 inches away from all enemy units. He then has 3 units of Moonclan shooters. He then has Spore Splatter Fanatics, Gobblepalooza, also with the Hand of Gork. He then has a Marshcrawler Sloggoth, and I have 2 sides of the coin on this one. 4 units of 10 Loon Smasher Fanatics. I will give you some details on that one before I pass it over to Jason. He then has gone in with 2 battle regiments, making it a 2-drop at 1950. Now, I'm a Gits player, okay, and this is the caveat I want to put in on this one, guys, so I'm going to get a little bit closer to the camera. I love the Gits in the Moonclan form. I carry 10 Fanatics in my army. The profile of a Fanatic is D6 attacks, 4s, 3s, -2 for D3. That's 1 Fanatic. When you have a unit of 10 of those, that's 10 D6 attacks. They strike first. They hide. They have to hide. Well, no, they don't have to. They should be opted to hide in a shooter, stabber, or in this instance, a Gobblepalooza unit. And at the start of the charge phase, they can opt to release them. Now, if they do so, they have to be released within 3 inches of the unit that they were hiding within, and they have to be at least 3 inches outside of the enemy. If it's on the Gits turn, they get to make a charge if they so wish, and they will. If it's the opponent's turn, they don't get to charge. They have the strike first capability rule, which means that if you're going to charge into them, unless you've got some sort of impact hits, they're going to attack and hit you first. So they will kick Heine hard and fast. That's one year 10 Loon Special Fanatics.
Range on those attacks.
The range of those attacks are 3 inches. That's a 3-inch ball of death swirling around those little gobbos. It's the epitome of a glass cannon. They are on a 6-up save. They're wearing pajamas. They're 1 wound. They have a bravery 10. Not that you really need it for Loon Smasher Fanatics, but they are. They can hurt. They can hurt. And this list could cause a lot of devastation. Now I'm in 2 minds on this one. Part of me wants to see it go hard and go strong. Another part does not want me to see it happen, because if this does do well, other people will see it go, that seems like a really good idea. Let's start spamming Loon Smasher Fanatics, and before you know it, when it comes to the next points listing and everything, Loon Smasher Fanatics jump 20, 30 points, and I get sad. That's my thinking on that one. The Marsh Crawler Slog Off as well has an aura radius of +1 to hit, so those Fanatics are now hitting on 3s if they're within that aura, which is very capable of happening. The Gobblepalooza have a spell which can do a -1 12-inch bubble to hit called Fungoid Cloud from one of their shamans, and put that in there with the Loon Smasher Fanatics, makes them a little bit more tenable to attacks coming back at them. And if they're not in combat and they are under Light of the Bad Moon, they rally on a 4-up. Jason, what are your thoughts, sir?
Absolutely love this list. It is. It's not just the Fanatics that are a glass cannon. This whole army is a glass cannon. The shooters, they're goblins. They shoot a lot. They shoot the ground in front of them quite a lot as well.
Yeah.
But they're there as a delivery method, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this list. I really, really love this list, because I've fought your Loon Smasher Fanatics multiple times. Yes, they go down hard. Yes, they destroy anything they touch before they go down. And having 4 groups of them is insane.
Yeah.
I love this list, though. I really do love this list. It'll be such fun to play as well. Play against and play with, just because the Fanatics a lot. The rest of the army is also Spore Splatter. I don't know if you already said this. They block line of sight between units, so you can't see past that unit, which is really nice for that first phase. You can block at least 1 magic spell. You know what I mean? As long as they don't die, you can block magic. You can block shooting, anything across that passes over them, which is really useful. I do fun with it, and then they also give +1 to attack for, is it Trogs or Gits units?
No, everything. So if a unit is wholly within 9 inches of a Spore Splatter Fanatic, that's +1 attacks. Guess where those Loon Smasher Fanatics could potentially be? That's D6 +1 for each of those little critters. But yes.
I just love this list. I think it's gonna be a laugh. I think it could be one of those sneaky little things in the background that you don't think is going to do much, and suddenly just clears tables.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I really, really do.
Absolutely.
Especially with the ability to bring back models, bring back units as well.
Yeah.
Bring back on half health. So you lose 10 Fanatics, you can bring 5 back. And they're not exactly slow either, if I remember.
No, 2d6 move as standard. Yep, 2d6 move. So this averages, law of averages would suggest 7 inches on the move, but I've had them going up to 10, 11 quite comfortably before the charges. And the other thing to note as well, people, with the Trog boss, with his 4-up wards, if he does take any wounds after attempting to save that ward, at the end of the phase, he has to roll a dice. And on a 1, the Trog boss eats the Glowy Howset and no longer has a ward save. You don't think it would happen that often? It happens, people. It happens. Chris, on this one, I love it. I hope it does well, but at the same time, I hope you don't accidentally create the meme list of the second half of 2023, because I want my points to stay as they are. Thank you very much. Chris, good luck on this one, and we hope you do well. Moving on then, we're now going to go to Gavin Tate. He is bringing Sons of Bahamut. Now, Jason, would you like to take us through this? Because I know you are a Sons of Bahamut enthusiast at the moment.
It's going to be my next army. It really will. And what I'm planning on it is exactly what he's doing: King Broad Stomp, because I really like some of the abilities for it. But forget me for a minute. King Broad Stomp. The sub faction ability gives you King Broad gets a 5 upward save if he's within 3 inches of a friendly unit, and once per round you get to possibly throw a terrain piece across the board and take it. You physically take it off the board, but you just throw it. So what? If a Mega Gargant, not the Man Crushers, the big dude, are within 1 inch of a terrain piece, you roll a dice. On a 2+, effectively it becomes, what do they call it? Sundered.
Yeah.
If there's any models on that, on a 2+, they suffer D3 mortals and are set up again within 6 inches of the terrain out of 3 of the enemy. So basically, they just get chucked out of it. And then you get to throw the terrain piece at a unit. 18-inch range, D6 attacks, 4s, 3s, -2, for D3 plus 3 damage. You can only do it once per round, but you know what? That's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
It can really hurt even big monsters with 2 rend. It can hurt a lot. I love it.
Yeah.
The monstrous action, it's the same as the ogres, basically. After the unit's made a charge, it can move a 3d6 move, fly over units, anything it passes over suffers D3 mortals. And you have to finish that move within 3 inches of an enemy unit. So basically in combat at the end of it. His grand strat is kill all the wizards. No wizards left alive at the end of the battle. No wizards left in the Sun's army anyway, so he's just got to somehow find the little wizards at the back. Especially with that monstrous action, you charge in, you can just fly over, and you suddenly got a Mega Gargant sitting next to a 5-wound hero. Be that hard.
Cool.
The command trait for one of the Gatebreakers. In the combat phase, if a Mega Gargant is wholly within 12 inches of the general, kills a model, doesn't matter what the model is, but kills a model, he can heal D3 wounds to himself. Keeps them alive a bit. Everyone knows what Amulet of Destiny is, 6-up ward save. For a Gargant on 35 wounds, 6-up ward save really does a lot. The Null Stone of Dormant, once again, everyone knows what this is. It's a 4+ spell ignore. 4+ spell bounce. If there's a unit within 3 inches, friendly or not friendly, it can pass
the damaging effects.
Yeah. We'll get rid of that one. If you can pass it over to another unit. Yeah. If there's nothing within 3 inches of him, it's just a 4+ spell ignore. Mm-hmm. So really, really nice. The only thing that's left to do on this army is King Broad. So actually talk about the units. King Broad. He's a Mega Gargant. He hits really damn hard. High rend, high damage, impact hits. If you kill him, he falls over and could squash things. Can walk over terrain when he makes a normal move, run or retreat. Not on a charge, though. And that's over terrain. All the Mega Gargants have a auto slay rule that if instead of being slain, they get D6 mortals on them. One of the big things I like about King Broad is he's a priest with 1 prayer. Casting value, it's not his answer value of 3, and you +1 to that roll if he's killed a monster in that battle, and it does one of 3 things. You add 2 inches to the move of any Sun's unit. You can heal D3 wounds allocated to all units, or the one that I absolutely love, improve the rend of a load of melee weapons, basically the big hitting attack weapons for all of the army, basically. You improve the rend by 1. So suddenly, if you think of King Broad himself, his main attack is 4 attacks. It'll be 3s, -3 for 5 damage a hit. So that extra rend really, really does help. Mm-hmm. Gatebreaker, same sort of deal again. I'm not going to go into all of the rules of him because all of the giants have pages of rules. He, as standard, has a normal missile attack as well, which is 18-inch range, 1 attack, 3s, 2s, -3 for 4 damage. So nice attack, but one attack. And as you know, when things get hurt a lot more, they go down in the damage table to get lower. Especially when the Gatebreaker gets to the lowest one, he can choose to do something differently. He can, instead of using his main attack, his main melee attack, he can say he's going to not do that. He's going to pick a unit within 3 inches. And instead of attacking with his attacks, on a 4+, they suffer 4d6 mortal wounds. So that doesn't bracket down. So when they get lower down, they can do it any time. But especially when he gets lower down, when his attacks are a bit iffy, he can still do crazy amounts of mortal wounds. I absolutely love this army. I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to build my army, but I know it's going to have Rod. I know it's going to have a Gatebreaker. It probably going to have some Man Crushers in there. Man Crushers, they're Gargants, but they're not Mega Gargants. So they're big, but not huge. And they have a few rules around it, and throw a rock again, slightly less of 1 rend D3 damage. But no, really nice. A really, really nice list. He's got 3 little Man Crushers that count as 10 on an objective. I think it's 10, and the big dudes count as 20, but that 20 possibly even more now, actually. Maybe 25 at times.
Oh, well, my teammate's right, sir. I thought it was more than that, but okay.
Yeah. So the big dudes count as 25, does bracket down. The smaller ones, the Man Crushers, count as 10 flat.
Yeah.
In King Brods, although effectively they don't get mightier makes rightier, they get the equivalent of name something different. That's just because it's an army of renown.
That's right, yeah.
And because it's an army of renown, they don't get any of the normal Sun stuff, so you won't see any of their fancy battalions and things.
No.
So it's still going to be a 6-drop, but it's giants, 146 wounds, 1940, which for a giants player, that's about right.
Mm-hmm.
But I really, really like it. What about you, Paul?
So I've never had the fortune to actually face these myself. I know that we are looking to test on TTS with yourself, so that will be an experience for me. Having said that, though, I've seen giant armies on the battlefield being played by a number of individuals of different varying levels of expertise and confidence behind them. And when they work with the right general, controlling them, they will slap hard. They can work. They can do what they need to do. Other times they can be a bit weak if they're not played with correctly. But ultimately, you're right. This is the first time I think we're seeing King's Bod Stomp come out. And like you said, where they kind of it's a flat, no, Sons of Bahamut book, nothing in there. You just get essentially 2-3 pages, though, in the Harbinger's book. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out on the battlefield, particularly for 20 play. Longevity-wise, I don't know how much longevity King Bod Stomp has at this time, and I'd be curious to see if Games Workshop support it further as they go on in the books. But ultimately, it's nice to see that they have a place in the tournament scene at the moment, especially after being kind of laid off in the previous GHB. It'll be cool to see. There's nothing better than seeing 6 huge models piling down on an enemy that has normally 70, 80 models, and seeing those models go flying everywhere. It's just like Ben said in our chat and everything. This is how our models see them, like fish caught, fish in a power. It's kind of shock and awe. It's a great army. It's destruction, so you're going for the laugh and for the potential of the swinginess, that you could potentially delete things left, right, and centre, or you just stand there sucking your thumb whilst the enemy pummel arrows into you. I think it has potential, but it'll be really interesting to see, not just from this tournament, but future tournaments, how King Bod Stomp actually works. Gavin, sir, we hope you do well, particularly as you are essentially a testy in our eyes for this, and it'll be interesting to see where you end up in the tournament rankings. And good luck, sir. We now move on to Jack Morton, and he is taking Idenith. Now, you've heard my voice a lot, and this is actually Jason's army at the moment. So, Jason, over to you, sir.
That's me as well.
Yeah.
So, Morphan, the sub-faction. The Soul Renders get +3 to when they return models. It's their Lawlight ability, which I'll explain in a minute. The Grand Strat, the Creeping Gloomtide, have no enemies within 12 inches of one of their shipwrecks at the end of the game. Now, leaders. The Keelian King, the classic setup you see every single time. It's exactly how I set him up. He's called the Slap King for a reason. Unstoppable Fury command trait. When he's affected by High Tide, which is without anything going on turn 3, his weapon of choice, which will be his main weapon, gets +2 to the attacks for every enemy unit within 3 inches. It'll be his polearm. It's just the one that's going to be. His mount trait of Void Chill Darkness, it's -1 to hit within 3 inches of him. He is a 7 wound model on a 3-up save. He goes in there, he hits damn hard, and in my opinion, he dies, but he's done his job at that stage. He just deletes a unit or two.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. I've had it before where I've charged him in and I've had +10 to my attacks, and on the charge they're -3 for 3 damage a hit. So they get their job. Soul Render. Little dude. It's all right in combat. One of his main abilities is called Lawlight, which his subfaction helps. At the end of the battle shock phase, so that's both turns, he returns D3 units to an Amati unit. If he's killed a model with it's called his Talon Hook, his weapon, it's a flat 3, and then he gets +3 from the subfaction. So it could be up to 6 models into an Amati unit. And he has 2 of those, so fine. The second one has the artifact Rune of the Surging Gloomtide, so he can bring in a second shipwreck at the end of the first movement phase. And the shipwrecks give ward saves to non-mounted units within 6 inches, or you can hide inside it. Obviously, you get +1 to save, -1 to hit against them, which is really nice. Throwmaster, fairly combat-y guy. Not crazy powerful, but he's powerful enough. His main thing he does is he buffs up the Thralls. At the start of every combat phase, for every Namati unit and himself within a 12-inch bubble, you can choose one of 3 things, which is reroll hits of 1, you get exploding 6s, so double hits on hit rolls of 6, or -1 to wound against them. So really powerful hero, especially as he's taken the battle line of 3 groups of 20 Thralls. 20 Thralls in themselves are only 20 wounds on a 5-up save as standard, so they are a bit flimsy. But something I've been shocked at multiple times is they can hit really hard. It's 2 attacks a model as standard, 3 3s, -1 for 1. If they're targeting a unit as a wound characteristic of 1, they get +1 to their attack. So it would be 3 attacks a model, so 60 attacks in that thing. With the 2-inch range, you'd normally get most, if not all of them in. If they're targeting a unit with 2 wounds, they don't get any bonus. But if they target a unit with 3 wounds or more, they get +1 to their damage. So there'd be 2 attacks, 3 3s, -1 for 2 damage a hit. It's weight of dice. They're not crazy, but they do hit hard with the weight of dice they can chuck at them. And then they can, obviously, if they're wholly within 6 inches of a shipwreck, they get a 5-up ward save as well. The Leviathan, the giant turtle, absolutely love the model. Me personally, I haven't used him to the full extent. So his mount trait, or the reverberating carapace, gives him a 15-inch bubble instead of a 12-inch. And that bubble is +1 to save for IDK units that have a wound characteristic of 8 or less. So basically, everything in his army, minus the allies, obviously, gets +1 to save. The interesting thing for that, though, is +1 to hit for Namati units. The enemy, the target unit, has to be wholly within that bubble, not your unit.
Yeah. So
that does work for Reavers quite well. You'd send them up the field and the Reavers get +1 to hit at range. But for Thralls, it works exactly the same. Leviathan itself, Really good shooting characteristic, 8 attacks, 3 threes, -1 for D3 damage, various melee profiles that generally cause heavy damage to a unit, if not deletes a unit. I've used it to great success a few times. Aether Wings are an interesting choice. Obviously a bit of speed on the battlefield, but I don't know. I would have probably chosen another 10 Thralls in exchange for those, but that's my choice. I think the army, it's a good non-shark list, considering sharks are the way that you see everything going at the minute with this army.
Yeah.
But apart from that, Battle Reg, 2-drop, 1980, 110 wounds, so it's decent wound characteristic for IDK. I feel like it could do very well. Just for those Thralls. They are surprisingly good.
Yeah.
But what do you think, Paul?
Yes, like you said, Jason, I've been his pincushion when we've been testing his IDK in the earlier days, when he did have like you said, the Killing King. Oh my god, when that goes in and does a high tie, which means he's striking first and everything, it's a lethal combination, particularly when he gets those attacks buffing up. The Thralls. Now, I actually saw Seasons of War did a battle report recently between IDK and Nighthorn, and they had a unit of 40 Thralls with a Leviathan in the background, and between the Thralls, the Killing King, and a unit of Eels, admittedly he doesn't have Eels in this one, but just one unit of Eels, they more or less wiped the Nighthorn unit down to 3 models left on the board by battle round 3. It has capability, without a shadow of a doubt. I can see the Aether Wings are there potentially for fast moving, like I said, to go and capture objectives, but more likely they're probably going to be there to soak up Unleash Hells to allow the Thralls or the Killing King to go in with the charge without the potential of getting shot at. And like you said, the build on this one is purely around the Thralls and, all the smaller units here, all the foot soldiers as opposed to the sharks. And it has potential. I've had it played against me by yourself, Jason, and I don't have a bad word to say about it. The Leviathan does have a place in this army. At 400 points, people say he's expensive. I think he's about right on the points for the experience I've had at this level of play. Hence why we're always middle to lower tables. But yes, this is a great list. It's a very nice list to see, and it's great to see that aside from the shark option, there is still versatility in an army like this. And I hope it does well. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. Any final thoughts at all, Jason?
No, I just hope it does well. Like I said, although I don't like making the Nomati, the Thralls, I do love the models, and I think it would be nice to actually see on the battlefield that many IDK models. You normally see such small IDK armies. I mean, what's mine got? 12 models?
12, yeah.
Something like that. You know what I mean? It's nice to see actually a decent-sized IDK army.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well,
good luck, Jack.
Yeah, Jack, absolutely. Good luck, and we hope you do well. Moving on now, we're now going to see Jack Perryman's list. Now, he's brought Crawl Boys out, and he has gone with the Grinning Blades. So, the Grinning Blades battle faction is not on our notes. Jason, can you have a look for me, please, mate? In the meantime, though, grand strategy we do have. This one's called In and Out Lads. Basically, when the battle ends, you complete the strategy if the general has not been slain, and if fewer than half the units in the starting army have been destroyed. The enemy, of course, enemy unit have been destroyed. Leader-wise, he's gone with a Swarmcaller Shaman and a Pokrot with a Merciless Blizzard spell. He's then doubled that up for a second time. He has Gobs back in his army, because why wouldn't you at the moment? He then has a Killer Boss with a Stab Grot. He then has, as his general, the Snatcher Boss on Sludge Raker Beast as his general. The command trait is Egomaniac, which means that after deployment, you can pick one Crawled Boys unit and reset it up anywhere 9 inches away from the enemies. So nice little movement shenanigans there. He then has the artifact of Mork's Eye Pebble, and this is basically a once per battle in the enemy shooting phase. The bearer and all units wholly within 12 inches have a 5-up ward. He then also has the mount trait of Smellion, which is that right? We've got it here as a hero phase move. I don't think that's
Fasten.
That's Fasten. Can you also check on Smellion on that one for me as well? Battle line wise, we've got 20 Gut Rippers, another 20 Gut Rippers, and 10 Hobgrot Slitters. He then comes in with a shooty aspect of Crawl Boys, so you'll have to see it, of 2 sets of 6-man Skewer Bolt Boys. He's gone with the Antorian Acolytes battalion and then 2 further battle regiments, keeping him in a comfortable, very solid 4-drop at 1980. Have you had any luck with the faction?
Missing rules. Grinning Blades. Units are not visible to enemy units more than 12 inches away.
Fantastic. So it gives
really,
him
really good sub-faction.
Capability of actually not getting shot off the board on that one.
But it's also magic, Seraphon.
Yes, that's very true. That is very true. Yes, of course. And for those who don't know, basically we've got. Oh, good. So, yeah, do you have it?
The mount trait Smellion is subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons that target this model if it has not made a charge move.
Okay, cool. Now, the one thing to consider on this one, guys, Gobsback. He is a really strong model at the moment in the current GHB because of his dispelling capability. Not only does he have the ability to unbind like every other wizard does, but if he does successfully, he then does D3 mortal wounds to the enemy wizard who is attempting to cast. More so, if he actually rolls 10 or more on that unbinding roll, he does D6 mortal wounds to the enemy wizard that is attempting to cast that one. I have had personally 2 or 3 little goblin wizards explode when he has successfully rolled more than 10 on his unbinding.
Remember, the primal dice count towards this as well.
That's what I was about to say as well. Yeah, it's the idea that it's very easy for him to get 10 plus. So if you see Gobsback on the board, I would seriously suggest considering how you do your spells, so you don't find headless wizards in your army. You're wandering around questioning what the hell has just happened. Overall though, it's great to see Crawl Boys out. They are getting a lot more field time with the update from GW, the little boosts and buffs that they've been given, and also on top of that the battle tactics, making them a bit more viable. But any thoughts on this one at all, Jason?
I think you're going to see Crawl Boys more and more nowadays with the changes that have been made, the little additions. They are could be very strong army. It's like a lot of armies, they can go wrong, but just the Grinning Blade sub-faction alone really helps, because things like Seraphon, which is the list to play against at the minute, not just because I've fought them, but the mortals everywhere, they've got to be within 12 of you. They don't want to get within 12 of you because then you can hit them back.
Yeah. So
it really, really makes a lot of thoughts, and then Gobsback and things like that. It's just, he's going to stop any sort of magic army. I think it's a really nice list. There's a lot of range. There's some the Gut Rippers, 20 man units of those are just nice to have. Hold objectives, screens, all this sort of stuff. A lot of decent heroes, which is always nice to see.
Yeah.
If played correctly, which I'm sure he will do, it could do really well.
Yeah, we've seen Jack out on the tournament fields anyway. I'm pretty sure he was at LGT. I'm sure we went over his list in the LGT. But with this one sort of thing, it has capability of achieving what he wanted to do. Some notes and everything on this one with the Snatcher Boss on Sludge Raker Beast. Essentially adds 1 to the Venom Encrusted weapons if they're wholly within 12 inches, if the unit's wholly within 12 inches of this model. He also has a once per battle auto slay capability, where basically he picks an enemy model within 3 inches with wounds of 7 or less, so wounds characteristic 7 or less, and unmounted, and essentially rolls 2d6. If greater than the enemy wounds characteristic, they're slain. And for 290 points, that's not too bad to have on this little side there in case a little foot hero comes along thinking he's all high and mighty. Um, yeah, but other things as well, like Stab Grot is a +1 to wound bodyguard rule. In addition to the bodyguard rule, that on a 1 to 5, the Stab Grot is killed. On a 6, it's negated, so it kind of absorbs that wound for you. The killer boss, if Cruel War unit is within 3 inches, fails a battle shock test, only 1 within the unit runs away. So it's all these smaller things that actually kind of help keep this army on the battlefield. Any final thoughts at all, Jason?
Nothing more than we said. Like I said, if it's done correctly, this could be a really strong army.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely.
He knows what he's doing, I'm sure.
Of course. Jack Perryman, good luck. We now move on to another one of our Rusty Nukers, a fond favourite of the Orcs, our very own James Elson. James Elson is bringing his own contingent of Iron Jaws with the Bloodtooths. Now, in this instance, the sub-faction means that at the end of the combat phase, the Gore Grunter units in his army that are fought in that phase and are within 3 inches of an enemy unit can make an additional pile-in move. In addition, those that are fought but not within 3 inches of enemy units can actually make a normal move or even attempt a charge. So, movement shenanigans on top of what they can already do. That's pretty nice. His grand strategy is Crump Maul, which means that you can pick this. You can only pick this up if you either have Kragnos, Gobsprak, or Gordrak in his army. And of course, he does have Gordrak in his army. When the battle ends, you complete the strategy if there are fewer than 3 enemy units on the battlefield, because Orcs just want to have fun. Going in then, he does have Gordrak, the Fist of Gork, in his army, so that's 1 Mega Boss or More Crusher with a name. He then has a second Mega Boss or More Crusher as his general. The commanding trait of Hulking Brute essentially means that after this general makes a charge move, you can pick 1 enemy unit within 1 inch of him and roll a dice, and a 2 up. The enemy suffers D3 mortal wounds. He then has a Destroyer artifact, which is a once per battle +1 to the damage characteristic of 1 of his weapons. And then he has the mount trait of Weirden. So essentially, this model has a 4-up ward save against the effects of mortal wounds caused by spells or the effects of endless spells. He has the war chances in there with the Get and Beat and Fix and Beat, and the hand-carved Nullstone icon. Battle line wise, he then takes a very
really important thing.
Yeah.
The artifact destroyer doesn't add 1 to damage, adds 3 to the damage.
3 to damage. Weapon. Oh, sorry. So I'm actually ripping them off for 2 damage.
It's really important that one because it makes it absolutely destroy anything.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Only 1 weapon profile though.
Yeah, only on 1. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you. He then takes a very sturdy 10 Orc Brutes in 1 unit, 6 Gore Grunters in another unit, and then 10 further Orc Ardboys. He's then gone Battle Reg, and because the idea he has 2 larger creatures, he's a 2-drop at 1990. Now, Jason, we know James is an Iron Jaws enthusiast through and through. I don't think I've ever actually seen him play any other army other than Orcs. What are your thoughts?
Cool boys, LGT.
Oh yeah, no, but I mean Orcs. He's stuck in with Orcs through and through. But yeah.
He knows how to do his Iron Jaws, though. He's played a similar list for a fair while. He knows how to get all of his buffs off correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And the Maw Crusher in itself, they're just big monsters. They're powerful. They build up as you go along, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And with that Destroyer artifact, you wait for him to buff up a little bit, ping that 1 turn, and I don't want to know what damage he could be on, but it'll be absolutely insane. It's going to be very much a get in and have a fight. Mighty Destroyer across it. So if something, what is Mighty Destroyer again? If you kill a unit, they fight. You choose someone else to fight.
That's it. You activate to fight again. Yeah, with another unit in your army. And then sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, that was it. Really, it's going to be a tough list to take off the board. It really, really is.
Exactly, and I think it is the Mega Boss or Maw Crusher also has an innate ability that if he destroys a unit himself, he gets +1 damage and wounds to his characteristics. or still +1 attack and damage, something like that. In addition, as he kind of buffs up, essentially he gets bigger and harder. I can't remember the exact rule off the top of my head, but I know that James knows how to use his Iron Jaws, and we hope he does well in this one. There's not much to say about this army, to be honest, other than watch out because they will come in, they will hit hard. Those brutes are on 3 wounds apiece, and their attacks they add up. they do add up. So do not underestimate his basic foot troops. And ultimately, you can see James is there for just a bloody good time. Any final thoughts at all, Jason?
No real thoughts. I know James is going to do well with this list because it's just powerful.
It's what he does.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And great to see him trying to do the 2 cabbage idea on this one. So it'll be good to see where he comes out on this one. But James, once again, good luck to you and hope you do us and the Rusty Nukes proud. Going on to yet another Rusty Nuke. Now, I want to say, guys, that it wasn't because we had so many Rusty Nuke players going to this tournament that we did the stream. We wanted to cover the Woehammer tournament. It's just lucky that we've got so many of our fellows who live in that area attending. So just putting that caveat out there. But James Linford, he is bringing the first KO list that we get to see. In this instance, he is taking the Barak Urbaz subfaction, which essentially means he gets to take an extra article. He's gone with the grand strategy of Rule Disguise, which means at least 1 sky vessel needs to be alive at the end of the battlefield, and any monsters that have flying capability are eliminated. He is taking to his leaders what you expect from every KO army. He has a Navigator with a Void Stone Orb, which is a once per battle auto unbind on a spell or end a spell. He has an Aether Chemist with the hand carved Gnarlstone icon, and then he has an Admiral with the command trait of X Grunstock, which essentially means that Thunderers and Gun Haulers become battle line. And then once per turn, the general can issue a command to the Thunderers or Gun Haulers without spending a command point. Battle line wise, as you expect to see, we have a reinforced unit, so 10 Grunstock Thunderers, a unit of 10 Arkanaut, another unit of 10 Arkanaut, and then he actually has a gun hauler in there as well. He then brings in the very versatile Arkanaut Ironclad and Gotrek Gurnism, coming in with a battle regiment, but still sitting in at 9 drop. Actually, is that right? That can't be right. I think Peter may have made a boo-boo on that one. That should be 1 drop. Just having a look at all the stars on that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, that should be a 1 drop. 1 drop at 1990. It's KO. Jason, your thoughts, sir?
I am still... Now I'm going to say this, it's going to suddenly be 4 KO lists, but I've still yet to fight KO. I know how powerful those Thunderers are, the amount of shots that can come out of them, the amount of different weapon profiles they have as well, which always freaks me out. The fact Gotrek being in there is a really good addition to this army. Gives them that little bit of craziness with Gotrek while everything else is flying around and killing things.
Yeah.
Have you gone through the articles yet, what they actually do?
No, did you want to do it or shall I?
I can do it if you want.
Go for it, yeah, absolutely.
So, the code, the amendment, prosecute wars with all haste. Once per turn in your movement phase, you can choose 1 unit to run 2d6 instead of d6.
Nice.
The articles, honor is everything. You haven't said which one's which, but 4+ rally.
Yeah, honor's everything's 4 rally, yeah.
And then settle the grudges after deployment, but before the first battle round begins, pick 1 enemy unit. Add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made by friendly KO units that target that unit. So, yeah, it makes that unit a little bit easier to kill, hopefully.
Doesn't say melee.
No.
It does not say melee.
For KO, yeah.
Yeah.
Footnotes, without our ships.
Oh, that's all one word. Without our ships, we are noughts. That's all one thing.
Oh, is that 1? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Once per battle, at the start of any phase, pick a friendly sky vessel, and they can receive 2 commands instead of 1. So everything's going to be a little bit harder to kill, a little bit easier to kill you, and they can move really, really fast. Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I really like this list. I think it could do well. I don't know KO very well because I've never actually had to fight them yet, and honestly, from what I've heard about them, I'm quite happy with that.
Yes, yeah.
I think, well, especially in my OBR army, I'll be sitting there just taking shots from everywhere. IDK is a little bit different because I can dictate. I can dictate your shooting phase a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much else I can really say. I just don't know KO that well.
No.
Have you actually played KO yourself yet?
No, I have not. No, and I've been very fortunate about that one. So far, I've not fought Suns, Seraphon, or KO, and I'm feeling very comfortable in that notion that may continue. But if you consider the idea that the Ironclad also has great engine works with the last word, and with that, that basically means that at the end of the enemy charge phase, they get to pick one enemy unit to finish a charge move in that phase within 3 inches of them. And with that, they get to fire their great cannon, the sky cannon, just fire as they would do. At the same time, it's also the Admiral's flagship. It's been elected to be the Admiral's flagship, which means that Ironclad can issue a command without a command point being spent. So that's a pretty nice addition. But you're right. This is an army that we all know, we have seen do very well in the past, and I expect it will continue for the foreseeable future. And even with the nerfs that it has suffered and everything, it still does what it needs to do. GoTrek being in there as well, also helping to bring it in. We just saw that Ben on the chat was saying that he's played this list, and it's just awesome. The GoTrek is perfect addition. He can. Okay, he can't go in any of the boats, but he can still stumble up that battlefield and just sit on objectives and kill anything that goes near him. Yeah, it's a great rounded list. So overall, though, pretty good, James. Pretty good. Any final thoughts, Jason?
Nothing more than I've said.
Nope. James, we said it before, we'll say it again with all of us nukes. Good luck to you, and hope you do us and the nukes proud. We'll now go on to Joshua Boyle with Seraphon and the Fangs of Sotek. So like we said before, with the Fangs of Sotek, they can use the redeploy command up to 3 times. The first 2 times doesn't cost any points. They go on with the grand strategy of spellcasting savant, so the Antorian Locust General must stay alive. And very similar to the last list that we saw, we have Lord Croak in this one, an Ashlift Bearer, Skink Star Priest, a Skink Star Seer, a Slan, a Star Master, and a further Skink Star Seer. He then has a battle line of 30 skinks, 10 skinks, 10 skinks, and would you believe it, 10 skinks. And then he's gone endless spell crazy with a Chronomatic Cogs, a Malevolent Maelstrom, and the Soul Scream Bridge. Using the Warlord and the Antorian Acolytes battalions, he comes in on a 10 drop at 1990. Now, we already have heard a lot about the spells. In terms of the command trait, it's once again the same sort of thing. Each time he successfully casts a spell, there's no unbound or unbinds or dispels, he gets 2 cosmic power points instead of 1. And in the artifact front, in this instance, he has Space Folder's Stave, which means that once per turn, a Starborn unit that can be brought in from reserve using those cosmic power points, they can be set up outside 7 inches of enemies instead of 9 being the standard rule. A lot of spell casting capability here, particularly when you got like Commerce Core, which is the casting value of 7, picks D3 units or D6 units, and it's the 3 mortal wounds. It's the one we all know when it comes to Seraphon. And then he's also got T-Pox Beneficence. Thank you, that's a long word there. Casting value of 5, 18 inches. Pick 1 friendly skink unit, and until the next hero phase, it's a -1 to wound against them, which really helps this unit, this army of skinks. Jason, your thoughts at all on this one?
It's a fairly standard hero setup for this army. Lots and lots of spells that they're just going to be casting like crazy. It's nice to see that number of skinks on the board. Normally you see a couple of units of 10 maybe, just to pad out their battle line.
Yeah.
That unit of 30 is going to be tough to shift. They're not that powerful, but 30 of them.
Yeah.
And then the spells, perfect for this army. I can't really say much about Seraphon because after the beating I've taken recently, but you know that it's gonna do absolutely amazing with magic.
Yeah.
They're gonna have so much you have to get through to get to the heroes. You're gonna struggle to actually get to things like Croak unless you can fly or deep strike or something.
It's interesting to see they don't have any Source Guard.
They can summon them in though.
Oh, he couldn't he? Yeah, that's very true. That's very true, actually, and very easily you can do that, actually. Yeah, no, good point. Yeah, sorry, Joshua, for coming up short on this one. It is a typical Seraphon list, and there's nothing wrong with that. But having said that, it's one that we do see very, very regularly, and it's a strong list to play with. We hope you do well with that one, though, and good luck on this one. Moving on, we then have Mark Potter coming in with the RCR Bone Reapers Petrifix Elite. Now, Jason, this is one of your armies, so I'll allow you to do the honours on reading this one out.
So, OBR was my first army. So, OBR Petrifix Elite. Petrifix Elite gives -1 to wound against units that have the Hekatos keyword or Harvesters. In this army, the Hekatos keyword is Immortus Guard, Stalkers, and the Morghast. Nice and simple.
Yep.
Spellcasting Savant you've heard many times. Keep a Locust General alive throughout the battlefield, which will be the Bone Shaper. Okay, Ark and the Black. Well, I haven't played with them so long. 3 cast, Wizard on a +2 to cast. Heals. There's lots of recursion in this list, so he heals. I can't remember with the new rules. I haven't used them since the new rules. It's either 3 or 4 units, 3 wounds, or brings back models to it. He is now a little bit of a beast because he heals the amount of wounds up he's done to you. He can fly everywhere. He is much more combaty. It's really nice to see him actually getting a bit more use. Saying that I haven't used him, but that's my choice. Liege Cavalos, speedy little cavalry general. He has a really nice ability called the name's forgiven me now.
I can find it if you like. Yeah, because I was just looking
basically gives an extra +1 to the attack profile as a command ability for a unit, which doesn't sound like much, but +1 to attack for
endless
the
duty.
Stalkers, especially in this one. Thank you. I've used it on hundreds of times.
Yeah,
But yeah, it really, really helps. He's got speed, he's got power. He is surprisingly survivable as well. Survivable? Survives a long time. Bone Shaper, command trait on him, show of superiority. If you use a command point on the battlefield, you roll a dice on a 5+, it costs 2. If you then decide to not use the extra command point, you lose the first one. You don't issue the command, but it counts as being used, so you can't issue it somewhere else. So really good at sort of trying to dictate what abilities get used across the battlefield. Load of Saturation is +1 to ward saves for the bearer, so effectively he's a 5 up as standard. It can adjust slightly if you do some spells. Empower Naderite weapons, so most of OBR mount traits don't get it, but mounts don't get it. But basically, OBR gets 6+, exploding 6s on the hits. That makes it exploding 5s on the hits. Really nice spell. Bone Shaper can heal 1 unit, 3 wounds again, or bring back Immortus Guard or Stalkers, like we've discussed. Battle line: 3 Immortus Guard, bodyguards for any of the heroes, powerhouses at the minute. Of 3 attacks, 3s, -2 for 2 each. Has an ability to fight twice, once per battle. 5 wounds each on a, in this army, 3-up save, because they haven't got Catacross. So, but I mean, 3-up save, they easily makes that to a 2-up. So they're really hard to shift. We'll skip over the Stalkers for a second, because that scares me. Morghast Harbingers. Absolutely love these models. Hate building them, but love the models. They fly. They have deep strike capability. On a charge of 8+, they get strike first. You can't use Inspiring Presence within 3 inches of them. Their attacks are really, really good. -3 rend at times, 2 damage, 3 damage a hit. They get really, really powerful. Really, really powerful. Death Riders, everyone's seen Death Riders recently. Speedy, fast, impact hits. But the one thing I want to talk about more is that group of Stalkers. That is 9 Stalkers. 9 of them. They've got 3 of the big weapons. They have a 3-inch range, 3 attacks each, hitting on 2s, winning on 3s, 2 rend for 2 damage.
Yep.
The small ones each have what have I actually got that to? I've actually got that really wrong. I think it's 3, 4 attacks.
Yeah, I'll have a look for you.
But 2 hitting on 2s, winning on 3s, -2 rend for 1 damage. When you add all that together, that is powerful enough. But each time they start a combat phase, they choose an aspect for their heads, because they've got 4 heads. You got to choose either +1 to hit, +1 to save, +1 to wound, or if you're really going for choppy, +1 to the damage. So you're looking at times -2 rend, 3 damage a hit. They really hit hard. 5 wounds each, 4 up save, and they can be brought back.
Now, Spirit Blades are 4 attacks, Shred Falchions are 3 attacks. So yeah.
Yeah, so they can be brought back with the recursion from the Bone Shaper and Archon. Rally them, so you can get them down to 2 models if you're lucky, because that's 45 wounds in there on a 4 up save, on a 6 up ward save. If you can get them down, they can just retreat back. They've got so much healing, so much ability to bring back. I mean, what would you do? You'd bring them back. You use an ability that heals them. You can then rally them, and then you can heal them possibly with the Bone Shaper and Archon. So you could be bringing back so many into that. A turn or 2, probably a turn. You're suddenly flying back in there with at least 3 more models, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, we're not going to give anything away, but they are hard to shift. Let's put it that way. Apart from that, it's a really nice list. It's powerful though. It is very powerful. Stalkers move fast. I do like the list. I have never got Stalkers to work right, but they are one of the most powerful units in OBR. Because that, and now because of the general, they can become battle line, which makes them even more scary. But yeah, anything you can see, because you've fought my OBR many times.
Yeah, so I was once again Jason's literal pincushion for his OBR testing, and it's nice to see, first of all, Archon coming out when Cash Cross is taking a well-deserved break in this army list. Like I said, the capability of bringing back the models, he can heal 3 units. So I was having a look on that front and everything. The Stalkers, 9 Stalkers is just utterly scary. The Immortus Guard are hard enough as they are. Yes, we can't ignore the idea GW have kind of nerfed a lot of the healing capability for OBR, but that's not to say they still have the strength to carry on. So go on. Oh, I thought you were say something, Jason. Apologies. Yeah, and then the Death Riders are a potential battle tactic that they can use on that one. They have a battle tactic that they can actually achieve with those Death Riders. And then the Harbingers, when they're used correctly, they can go in and slay some of those minor heroes, perhaps a weaker unit, quite comfortably. So with this one, yeah, without a shadow of doubt, we know OBR do well, and they have been doing well. But it's nice to see a slight change in them. And I think that's what we will see in the coming months with the nerfs that have happened, particularly around the Immortus Guard. It's no longer just take 12 Immortus Guard and smile at your enemy. It is now a case of let's look at other options that could be built into this army. So it will be curious to see how this kind of blends out as we go on into the to the end of the year. Any final thoughts? I know we do have another OBR army coming up, so shall we move on to that one?
Yes, move straight on.
Absolutely. Mark, though, good luck on this one. It would be great to see what your Stalkers are capable of on that. Definitely. We then move on and we then have Matt Brooks with our second OBR army. Jason, I shall leave it in your hands once again.
Okay. So, Null Myriad. When you're wholly within 9 inches of the Mortizan hero, that's the Bone Shaper or Soul Mason in this instance, you get a 2+ spell ignore. So, you can pretty much write off magic against this army.
Yeah.
Same grand strat, spellcasting Savan, it's the standard one. Okay, let's go from the easy ones first. Bone Shaper. Spell of Hoarfrost, we all know what that is. The artifact, the Artisan's Key, means his healing ability on a 3+, you can do it twice. Can be the same unit, can be different unit, but a unit within 6 inches. So it can you can effectively do it to the same unit twice. The Soul Mason. Dark Acolyte is command trait. The first spell that is cast from his lore cannot be unbound. So it's as long as you cast it successfully, it's fine. And he's also got the Merciless Blizzard spell on top of that. The Soul Mason is a lore master, so he knows every spell going in the lore. And just very quickly, I'll read through some of the effects because there's 6 of them. But exploding 5s instead of 6s. A hero teleport away if they get injured and they're still alive at the end of the turn. 4+ mortal wounds ward save. On a unit, it's -1 to hit, -1 to save on an enemy unit. That is, sorry. Soul Release. You cannot set up units within 12 inches of that unit, or Mortal Contract is a weird one. If the enemy unit, so you cast it on an enemy unit, and it is there for the rest of the battle. If that unit damages an OBR unit, at the end of every phase it damages, you roll a dice. On a 3+, it does D3 mortals. So it does. It's good to cast early if you can get it off, and it builds up.
Yeah.
Catacross. Expensive now, but still worth it. His main thing that you'll see is he gives a 24-inch bubble. And that in that bubble, OBR units +1 to hit, +1 to hit, +1 to save. Simple as that. Straight out. That's it. It is really powerful. He has other abilities like he can stop the opponent getting a command point at the start of every turn. He gives -1 to hit for a unit. His attack profile is strong enough when it's normal. It does degrade over time. It doesn't degrade so much. There's 3 attack profiles, 2 really good, 1 bit weaker. The weaker one degrades, the stronger ones just get better. So he gets effectively, I say he gets pissed off and then starts attacking. If he gets within 3 inches of an enemy hero, he fights on the bottom bracket, so it's more powerful attacks attacking at all times. And that's when he gets really dangerous. Of course, 6s to hit do explode on him as well, which is really, really nice. Battle line. I'm really happy people are starting to take this again because I love this style of army. Death Riders, we just spoke about. Speedy units, nice cavalry, impact hits, battle tactic, really nice. 6 Immortus Guard with Catacross, bodyguard unit for all the heroes. They are now 30 wounds on a 2+ save. They hit damn hard. They can hit over each other on a 2-inch reach for their weapons. Their bases are fraction under 2 inches, so they can hit over each other. I love them, and they're horrible. Simple as that. What I'm loving to see, though, is 30 more Tech Guard come back. You need to take big units nowadays because of the changes to the rules. But on 30 more Tech Guard, that's 30 wounds on a 4+ save. It depends on what it's fighting against, but it could be ethereal, could be a 2+ save anyway. So 2+ or 3+, 3+ or 4+ ethereal save. You can give them extra ward saves. You can give them extra wounds with all their abilities. They do their job. They don't go anywhere fast, and they hit hard. Now, the Harvester. At 160 points, I think he's worth it by himself. But his ability to bring back Mortec, which used to be, if a model died within 3 inches, you roll a dice and you bring back models. depending on the wound characteristic, normally you shove them behind the Mortec. If a Mortec dies on a 4-up, it comes straight back. Now, you only do that at the end of the combat phase for any units, any models that have died in that combat phase. So it's a little bit reduced because it used to happen at the end of each fight, basically, at the end of each activation. So you can bring them back and then that sort of stuff. But with 30, it's hard to get through that anyway. And then at the end of the turn, they just get brought back.
Yeah.
And even if you manage to kill some, Catacross heals up, Bone Shaper heals up. They're not going anywhere fast. And that's about it for this list. I really love this list just for the sake of we're bringing back Harvesters, we're bringing back Mortec, and I do love the way they play. I love a Mort's Guard for the survivability of them, but Mortec is where I started. I love them. I love a little Mortec Guard. It could be a really strong thing, a really strong list. The only thing he's possibly lacking is a bit of board presence. I know there's a lot of models there, but a group of 30 Mortec will hold one objective. A lot of these ones you need to be able to move between objectives, and they're not. They can be fast, but not necessarily overly fast. But yeah, I love it. But Paul, over to you.
It's nice to see, like I said, it's nice to see the Mortec Guard coming out again. Clearly they've had their day of rest, and Catacross is kicking them up the arse and saying, come on now guys, time to don your armour and get out there again. And it's good to see a well-rounded list in this instance. Catacross is a powerhouse in his own way. Supported by those Immortis Guard means that he's not going anywhere soon. The 30 Mortec Guard, I've seen them, played against them, and they are strong infantry through and through, especially when they're reinforced with the Harvester, even with the nerfs that they've struggled with. It's nice to see it still has versatility. And at 160 points, I completely agree. It's not a weak model to be going in there. It has fighting power, even on its own. And Battle Regging, a 1-drop at 1980. You're in a fantastic place, Matt, on this one. You've got a good list, in my opinion, and I expect it will do you well. With that, though, Matt, good luck, and it'll be great to see how you do. Moving on now to our next list, and here comes another Rusty Nuker. Michael Maher, friend of the stream and co-host here and everything. He is bringing out his Blades of Khorne, and in this instance he has gone with the Skull Fiend Tribe. Now this is a slight adjustment to the one he took at LGT. So basically Skull Fiend Tribe means charges of 8+, allow him to strike first. He's gone with Slaughter of Sorcery, so kill all them pesky wizards and you'll be having a great day at the end of the battle. In this, though, he has taken the Bloodthirster of Unfettered Fury as his general, with the command trait of Firebrand, which means that essentially becomes a priest and he gets a prayer. He has taken the artifact of, I'm going to say it correctly, not what's been written here, okay, gents, Argaras, the King of Blades. Now, because we saw it so often at the LGT, they changed it out, and instead they've named it Argari, the King of Blades. But with this one, though, but essentially it's no ward saves allowed for units that are within 3 inches of the bearer. Fantastic. He then has the Prayer of Bronze Flesh, which is an answer value of 3 in a 16-inch range. Pick one enemy unit that's not in combat, and they must make an 8-inch move towards your unit, the closest enemy, towards the Chanter. He then has a Realm Gore Ritualist with the Prayer of Killer Instinct, which is an answer value of 3 and a range of 16 inches. Essentially, he picks one friendly unit and that's not in combat, and he allows them to make a move. He has a second Bloodthirster, Vassacorn Bloodthirster with the Halo of Blood, which allows it to strike first. He then has a third Bloodthirster, but this one's named because it's different, and that is our good old friend Scarbrand. He then finishes up his heroes with a Bloodsecrator and a Slaughter Priest. Coming in on the battle line front, he then has 10 Blood Reavers, 8 Claws of Karanak, a further 10 Blood Reavers, and then 10 Skull Reapers with Demon Blades. He has chosen the core battalions of the Command Entourage with the Magnificent option, and a Battle Reg, keeping him in at a comfortable 5-drop at 1990. Now, Michael is a prolific Khorne player, knows them so well. Did very nicely in LGT, going 3-2 with his other list that he took to that one. But with some slight changes, he's now bringing this out. Your thoughts, Jason?
Mike's put it in his list. It's there for a reason. That's what I would say. He knows Khorne through and through.
Yeah.
Bloodthirsters are, in general, different ones, different abilities, but are generally really powerful. You know, battle line. They'll do their job. Scarbrand is always scary.
Yep.
He's ripped through half my army before, so I can't really. It's just what it is. I think the charging of 8+ strike first could be very useful in this list. If you imagine Skull Reapers, a couple of Bloodthirsters charge in with all the abilities and stuff, you know, I mean, you could be hitting with some big, heavy hitting units before you've even actually given the opponent a chance. It's like my High Tide for IDK.
Yeah.
It's just
it's
scary.
A strong capability, having a lot of units striking first. Yeah.
I think he's going to do well with it. Like I said, he knows what he's doing with this list. I think he'll be really good. One thing I will call out is the Skull Reapers, a battle line in a Skull Fiend tribe army, so basically this army as well, which only really makes a difference to, I think, the Grand Strat Overshadow.
Yeah.
It's one I used to use for IDK, kill all the battle line.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I think Mike's going to have fun with this list. He always has fun with Khorne anyway.
He does, and that's one of the reasons he takes it. It may look like a really powerful list, and that's just purely a bonus to it. He takes it because he enjoys the idea of Khorne. And we hope you do well, Michael. We really do, because we know you enjoy your Khorne army, and may it do well for you, and also for our Rusty Nukes. So good luck, sir. Moving on, we'll now go to Mira Berry, who's brought out the Slaanesh army. In this one, they've gone with the Invaders host. So with this, it means that all heroes are counted as generals. In addition, you roll a dice each time you pick a friendly hero to carry out a heroic action. On a 2-up, you can pick one other ineligible hero on the battlefield to carry out the same heroic action. In addition, they also have a heroic action they can choose called Escalating Havoc, which means that when they carry out a command, they can carry out with one friendly hero, and instead of picking one from the table in the core rules, they can choose this one. If they do so, pick one eligible command trait from the list in their Invaders hero options they do not have already, and then they can use it until the end of that turn. So essentially give themselves an extra command ability. The same command trait cannot be used more than once within the same turn, and unique units cannot benefit from this ability, as we'll see here. They've then gone with the grand strategy of selfish desire, so no summoning. As long as they don't do that, happy days for them. In this instance, they have the Keeper of Secrets as their general, with the Shining Aegis giving them a 5-up ward save. Command trait of best is the best, which means that they add one to the attacks characteristics of this general's melee weapons while they're within 6 inches of another friendly hero. They've gone with the Flaming Weapon spell and then the Icon Infinite Excess, which means that once per battle at the start of the combat phase, you can say that the bearer will plant the Icon of Infinite Excess. If they do so, you add one to the attacks characteristics of weapons used by friendly Slaanesh units on the battlefield until the end of that phase. Very nice. I know how that feels with certain armies I play with. Very nice indeed. Contorted Epitome coming in again with a Hoarfrost, and then we see the Mask coming into play. And at the same time, we also have Shalaxi coming in, finishing off the leaders. We then have 2 units of Blitzbarb Archers and 1 unit of Demonettes. We then have 2 units of 3 Fiends in a Battle Regiment, coming in on a 2-drop at 1990. Now, I'll just quickly go over, because I know we're getting on a little bit, it's getting a bit late, so I will keep it kind of short and everything. But Shalaxi does have capability in this. If you consider the Soul Piercer has 2 attacks, 3s, 2s, -3, D3 +3. With delicate position capability, wounding rolls of 6 jump straight to mortal wounds. So no saving there on that one, no stand saves. They also have, Shalaxi also has the ability of the killing blow. So at the start of the combat phase, they get to pick an enemy hero within 3 inches. All of their attacks must be focused on that hero, but there's damage on the Soul Piercer is a straight 6. So that's 2 attacks with 6 damage. They also have a Cloak of Constriction, which is a -1 to hit and wound for melee weapons against Shalaxi. And they also have the ability of Irresistible Challenge. So in the enemy charge phase, the start of it, they can pick a unit within 12 inches. Shalaxi can challenge a hero within that 12-inch range. If they refuse, they take D3 mortal wounds. If they accept, they must try and charge Shalaxi. And here's the thing, if they fail the charge, they still take D3 mortal wounds. So Shalaxi has capability here. You also have the Mask in here as well, who has a fantastic capability of essentially teleporting and resetting up outside of 3 inches of enemy units. And then in addition to that, they have an ability which they can either heal 3 or add 3 to their attacks characteristics, giving them, I believe it's 8 or 9 attacks with a combat capability of 3 3s -2, I think, for 2 damage. It can blend when it needs to. Overall, though, it's great to see the Fiends out on this one. They give some bubbles of nerfs against enemy units. But Jason, any thoughts on this one?
I have thought a similar list to this, not exactly the same, 2 different changes in it, and it is scary how powerful actually it is if you get the buffs and debuffs off.
Yeah.
It can really hamper your units and just then start smacking you. I don't know much about Slaanesh apart from that, but I mean, Blitzbarbs are Blitzbarbs.
Yeah.
Fiends, I know you haven't been the biggest fan of Fiends in the past. I actually really like them on the board. I think they do have a purpose on there.
The points make them versatile now. The points make them versatile.
Mm-hmm.
They were too expensive in the past, but now, yeah, they have capability.
And I've heard you talk about the Mask before, exactly as you're saying about if you do certain things to it. I mean, it's stupid amount of attacks for 150 points. Just chuck him in and see what happens.
It has a 4 ward save as well. So 6 wounds on a 4 ward save. It could hang around. Probably not, but it probably could hang around.
Even if it dies, though, as long as it does its job, that's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get you a load of points before you even start the fight.
Yeah.
Before you even start the battle proper.
Yeah.
But no.
It's a great turn 1 option, and like I said, you can use it. The idea of the once per in each combat phase, the Slaanesh player can choose a unit to allocate this to, and any wounds that they do to an enemy, you get that number of depravity points in. So turn 1 for Mask is a possibility there. But yeah, it's a great well-rounded army here, and with those Fiends as well backing them up. It has capability with Shalaxi and a Keeper of Secrets on the battlefield. So it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. Mira, we hope you do really well, and good luck onto this one. We now move on to Orpheus Chloros, who's taking Nurgle with the Prowling Host. So like we heard before, basically this is if your general is a demon, you can set up 2 Feculent Narmals. He's gone with the Corrupt Arcane Nexus again, which is when the battle ends. You complete this grand strategy if the Nurgle Wizard is within 3 inches of the centre of the battlefield, and there are no enemy units within 6 inches of the centre of the battlefield. He's gone out with Blow Up Rot Spawn with this spell Gift of Disease, which heals my eyes. There they go. Casting value of 6 and a range of 7. You pick 1 enemy unit, and that unit and every other unit within 7 inches gets a disease point. Pretty nice. They've then got the Glockin in there with Rancid Visitations, casting value of 6, range of 7, pick an enemy unit and roll a dice for each model in the unit, and on a 2-up they suffer a mortal wound. That's deadly. Horticulous Slimucks, who we've seen before, and then All Guts Demons for you. Coming on the battle line, keeping it very nice and simple, 3 units of Beast of Nurgle. You then have a unit of 3 Nurglings and 10 Rotmire Creed. And then on here, he also has 2 Feculent Narwhals. Coming in with a Battle Regiment, 3-drop at 1960. Slightly different to what we spoke about before, Jason, but still similarities with the Beast of Nurgle in there. Any thoughts at all?
My only one would be something I think we spoke about earlier is the Grand Strat. I query that Grand Strat. It worked for a Nurgle army, but you've got to get a wizard within 3 inches of the center and no enemies within 6 inches of that center. Well, why don't you just use the Barren Landscapes Grand Strat, which is no enemies within 6 inches, and you don't have that extra bit of the wizard within 3.
Yeah.
Makes it possibly slightly easier, but it's kind of a bit irrelevant because the models that you've got, like Glotkin and stuff, Glotkin's not going anywhere fast. So he's just got to sit in the middle somewhere. But yeah, no, it's a fairly standard Nurgle army. Nice big monsters, battle line. That's about it, really. It's nice.
Yeah. It's a true Nurgle list, and it's great to see the Glotkin once again getting some field time. And this one, and the Blowout and Orgots are also decent creatures when they come into it. Like the Demon's Spew, Orgots, he's got like a really powerful missile attack. It's 1 attack, 3s, 2s, -1 for d6 damage. Ward rolls are 6 when he's saving there, do a mortal wound back, and he also gets a free command point every turn. So nothing to complain about there. The Beast of Nurgle, as we said before, they can run and retreat. Retreat, and still charge, sorry. And they also do disease points on the retreat, as well as impact hits. So they have capability, and 100 points per Nurgle. It's nothing too bad at all on that one. With this, though, you've got a lot of heavy bodies there, and capability of holding board where they want to. And I love the Glotkin idea. I love him in the lore, love him in the rules. They've done well with that, and it's great to see him getting board time. So yeah, absolutely. Ophias, good luck on this one, and we hope you do well. We'll now move on to Paul Coram, who's bringing in yet another Slaanesh army. So it's great to see we've got 3 Slaanesh armies, which is already outnumbering the LGT listings. In this one here, he's gone with the Pretenders, which we've heard about before. So in the hero phase, they get 3 command points instead of 1, and they can issue the same command point up to 3 times, second and third time not costing any points. We've got the Keeper of Secrets with the command trait of Strength of Godhood. So like we said before, once per turn, if the general issues a command to a Slaanesh unit, they then get to improve the rend and damage characteristic of one of their weapons by 1. So quite cool. Contorted Epitome of Born Damnation, and then the Infernal Raptress coming out with the Arcane Tome. We then have 20 Demonettes, 11 Blissbarb Archers, 11 Blissbarb Archers, and 11 Blissbarb Archers. Being reinforced on that one, he then has 5 Blissbarb Seekers, and then has allied in 3 Varangard with Demon Forged Blades. He then has the Fane of Slaanesh as a terrain piece, Antorian Acolytes, and a Battle Reg coming in 2k on the nose on a 4-drop. It's nice to see yet another list here, Jason. Any thoughts on this one at all?
Varangard and the Slaanesh army. That's absolutely it's weird but great. I love it.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that they were in that list, and it's really just thrown me up. I love that addition into this army. Bit of speed, bit of power into that initial hit. It could really do well in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice because the Vanguard do.
It's much different.
Exactly. The Vanguard will give armor, staying capability, and the ability to punch. And the one thing that Slaanesh has in the past struggled from is the ability to stay around. Their finesse it's a finesse army. They go in, they attempt to kill, and if they don't, they get killed. So it's nice to see something that can actually hold up a little bit longer. And the Infernal Raptress as well coming in to really screw any kind of wizard's days up. Just remember that Raptress has the ability to make you or force you to re-roll your spells. And in addition, if you roll double, you're then taking mortal wounds from it. So that's always fun. I think that's a 24-inch range on the Raptress. I might be wrong, but I'm sure it's 24 inches on that one. But it's just great to see some Vanguard in a Slaanesh army. Any final thoughts on this one?
Nothing more than I've said already.
No, absolutely. Typical Slaanesh army list here. Great to see it doing what it's going to do, though. And we hope you do well, Paul. So good luck. Moving on, we're now going to this strange fella called Ringer Ringer. Now, some of you may know him as potentially the leader of this Woehammer AoS tournament, and others may just see him as the Ringer Ringer. But either way, he has brought out the Crawl Boys with the Grinning Blades. Grinning Blades means that friendly Grinning Blades units that are not visible to enemy units outside 12 inches. Fantastic. Grand strategy, Baron Eyescapes is like Jason was just saying, at the end of the battle, have no enemies within 6 inches of the centre of the board. Awesome option. He has decided to bring Gobsprak out with a Sneaky Miasma. Sneaky Miasma is a casting value of 6 and 18-inch range. You pick one friendly monster in range, that monster can move. Guess who he's going to be doing that on him? Onto himself. He then has a killer boss with a Stabgrot as his general, with the command trait of Super Sneaky. Essentially, it's a pre-game 1 unit teleport, 9 inches outside of the enemy. He then has Mork's Eye Pebble, which we've seen before, which is in the enemy shooting phase. The Baron, all units within 12 inches, wholly within 12 inches of a 5-foot ward. He then has a Snatcher boss on Sludge Raker Beast with the Faster mount trait, allowing a hero phase move once per battle. Stormcaller Shaman and Swampcaller Shaman, one of them with a Choking Mist, which is a casting value of 7 and 24-inch range. Pick a point on the battlefield within range and visible. All units within 6 inches are affected, so it's all units, and essentially is a -1 to the attacks profile of all units affected. Coming in with the battle line, 20 Gut Rippers, 20 Hot Slitters, 10 Gut Rippers, 1 Beast Skewer Killbow, and then 2 sets of 6 Man Skewer Bolt Boys. Coming in with a Battle Reg and Antorian Acolytes, 4-drop at 1990. Any thoughts, Jason?
It's very similar to the list we've had before. Obviously, tweaks on it. If it works well, the shooting from this army and things like that, it could go really well. It's Crawl Boys. They could fall over as well, but that's just what they are. Crawl Boys. Crawl Boys are going up, I'm sure, in the meta now. They have enough to keep them going. Grinning Blades, I said it before, amazing sub-faction in this meta at the minute.
Yeah.
It really will stump me if I come across that one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
really nice.
Yeah.
Carry on.
It's got great versatility with the shooting. He's got the Beast Killer, so there's some for the monsters. Bolt Boys for standard shooting. He's got the bodies on the field to try and contest them. And then he does have the likes of Gobsprak securing the magic front. And then he's got his own heroes doing what they do best. With this one being also the Woehammer kind of leader and all of this, it's nice to see him also getting time on the boards when quite often TOs don't get that opportunity. So yeah, absolutely. Peter, we hope you do really well, and we hope your tournament goes off as you hope without any problems or anything, and you have a fantastic weekend. Good luck with your list, and we hope you do well. Bathtub Bean, yes, that's my fault. I accidentally got these lists mixed up after Peter asked me to change a few things on his list. So yes, that's why. But we are now going to go to Peter Wagner. Now, this is an army list that he took to LGT with only one slight change. So he is taking Cauldron Overlords with the barracks on, which is essentially after deployment, but before they start the battle, the first battle round, he gets to pick one enemy hero, and his general does double damage for successful attacks made with the general's weapons. Leaders-wise, he's got Brog Grungson, he's got an Etheric Navigator, and he has the Arcanal Admiral with the Grudge Bearer, which once again we know means that he can make the gun haulers. Oh, no, actually, Jason, can you check the? Oh no, I've got it here. I'm sure I've got it here. That was his command trait, which I just explained. Sorry, that basically he gets to, with the Grudge Bearer, he gets to choose one enemy and then go ham on them. with that one. Would you be able to find out what Barracks On does for me, please, Jason? In the meantime, though, we have got in the battle line 3 Sky Wardens, 10 Archanaut Company, and 10 Archanaut Company. He then has 2 frigates armed with skyhooks and a magnificent omniscope, which essentially adds 2 to this unit's move characteristic, making him just a little bit faster, and then 2 sets of 6 engine riggers. He comes in with a battle regiment, 2 drops, and 1980. Like I said, he did take this list to LGT and did rather well with it. He's changed only one thing, which is that command trait to Grudge Bearer. And then the amendments, the Caradron code in this one, basically the amendment, prosecute wars or hastes like we had before. He can choose 1 unit in his movement phase to run 2d6. The articles are settle the grudges, so essentially after deployment but before the first battle round begins, pick 1 enemy unit and you add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made by the KO units that target that unit. And in the footnotes, there is no risk without reward, no reward without risk, sorry. Once per battle in your charge phase, you can attempt to charge with a KO unit within 18 inches of the enemy, and they actually get to do a 3d6 chance charge instead of 2d6. Were you able to find out Barracks On, Jason?
Yep, Barracks On. Add 1 to hit and wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by friendly Skyfarers units that made a charge move in the same turn. And in this instance, the Skyfarers are the Admiral, the Navigator, Brock, Sky Wardens, Archanaut Company. So basically, his whole list, he gets add 1 to hit and wound for melee weapons.
Absolutely. This army is
not frigates, not the big dudes.
Yeah, this army is built for one thing, that is combat. You don't normally, you never would expect KO to be kind of a combating army. The idea that when the frigates charge and the units deploy out, they get the strike first capability. All of the units that come out of those. The engine riggers can heal up those frigates as they take damage. They can't get inside them admittedly, but they just follow them. And no, they can't hook on. Sorry, they can't hook on anymore, but they can, they can still heal them. And Brock is not to be sniffed at either. He has got his own veritable loadout, and he also has the ability of command the fleet. So it's actually the same as the Admiral rule, but he gets to choose 3 sky vessels instead of 1. And in addition to that, he's also got the first rule of Grungson. Basically, if Brock charges, he has a 12-inch bubble plus 1 attack for all Skyfarer units' melee weapons within 12 inches. So it's a really nice model to have, and at 220 points, he can hold his own. Any thoughts, Jason?
It's a very, very strong list. The buffs in this army are insane. I think it is really interesting to see a melee KO list. That being said, I wouldn't necessarily want to be on the other side of it. I'd just like him on the table next to me to see it happen.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I don't know what I could put out there to counter this at all. Honestly, it just makes it hard work.
Yeah.
But no, it's one of these ones that this one could really easily win the tournament, I think.
It's got a good contention for it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, he had the LGT to tinker with it. So coming into Woehammer, I think he's going to do well. Peter, good luck. And Michael, if you do face off, I think you are facing off against this list, aren't you? Sucks to be you. Moving on, we're now going on to Ryan Lettinger, who's bringing the other new army of renown. He's taking Troghud. He's gone with the grand strategy of Overshadow, which means he has to destroy all the enemy battle line and have at least one of his own alive, excuse me. His sub-faction basically means that Trug himself has an ability, which we'll talk about briefly, but when he uses his ability, it affects the whole army, not just himself. Within this then, he has Trug, and then he has a Trog boss as his general with the command trait of Ceaseless Growth, which is when regenerating, friendly units add 1 to the wounds healed. And then he has the artifact of Lunestone Teeth, which essentially means he becomes a monster. So, but without the +2 wounds like you normally get in the Gitzburg, this is just he becomes a monster. Battle line wise, let's throw in 2 Dankhold Trogoffs. Let's have another 2 Dankold Troggos. So that's 4 Troggoths and a Trog boss on the battlefield there. 3 Fellwaters, 6 Rotguts, and then 3 more Fellwater Troggoths. He's put him into Battle Edge at 2 drop. Now the thing about Trug is essentially he has a thing called Hit Delay Stone, and he rolls a number of dice depending on his damage table, which starts at 4. He rolls the dice, he gets to choose one of the results, and then he gets the ability. And the abilities vary, and I've actually kept the document up for this one just so I can actually read it to you guys. So apologies if our cameras disappear for a second on this one. But with him, basically on a 1, he actually suffers D3 mortal wounds. So they all suffer D3 mortal wounds. On a 2, +1 to attacks characteristics of the melee weapons of all the army. On a 3, it's improves the rend by 1 for all melee weapons by 1. On a 4, every time a unit receives a command ability on a 2 up, you get a command point back. On a 5, unmodified hit rolls of 6 for attacks made with missile weapons only score hit. Unmodified hit rolls of 6, yep. And then on a roll of 6, a 5-up ward save. Now the thing about this Laystone is essentially he doesn't always have to hit it in his hero phase. But if he does, the whole army benefits from it. One thing to note with Trug though, if he chooses not to, Trug still gets the bonus that continues, but the army does not. So that's something to be aware of with Trug. But it's an interesting army to see. It's great to see another one of these coming out onto the tournament scene. And it'll be interesting to see how they play out. Once again, it is like Glog's Mega Mob, so you're talking about a lot of capability of holding up in there. All his Trogs under the Light of the Bad Moon will be getting their +1 save as they're still carried over into the Trug's Trog Herd. So they'll be on 3 ups under the Light of the Bad Moon. And they still do get their regeneration, admittedly only in the hero phase, but that's nothing to be worried about. Jason, your thoughts on this?
I honestly don't know how to take Trug's Trog Herd because when I'm playing your Gits, Trogs are always hard to kill because that +1 to save. It really makes them hard, have really good saves.
Yep.
But they are still able to be killed, so I honestly don't know. Trug is what, 16 wounds on a 4-up save?
Yeah, that's right.
So he's not unkillable at all by a long shot.
No.
I would like to see how this one does, just because I don't know how a full Trogs list like this will work. It's as simple as that. I think it's got a lot of ability there, especially with the big Trogs going in there. He's got 5 effectively dank holds, 4 normal, 1 Trog boss sort of thing. But
yeah,
that's scary enough with the amount of big models in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see how it works. I just don't know how it would work.
No, I agree with you. I think it's a great list to kind of test out. Whether or not it'll withstand the test of time, I think is the biggest question on this one. I think it may struggle, but it's great to have the option there. And Trug, I love the option of Trug. He's a great model, and his lore is really amusing to say the least. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Those Dankhold Troggoths though, they do swing hard. They're like 4 attacks, 3s, -2 for D3 +3. So they have capability to hit hard if they can get their attacks through. But yeah, and then you got the Rotguts and the Fellwaters. So what's not to love? Ryan, good luck with this one, sir. And we hope you have fun with this one. We'll be interested to see where you get with it. Moving on, we're now going to go on to Sam Barker with the one and only army of Beast of Chaos to enter into this tournament. They have come along with Dark Waters sub-faction, which means at the end of your movement phase, you can choose 1 unit of Gors, Ungors, or Ungor Raiders within 9 inches of an edge, and they can be taken off and come back on within 9 inches of an edge somewhere else, admittedly 9 inches away from the enemy units. He's gone with the grand strategy of protect the Herdstone, so no enemy units within 9 inches of the Herdstone, and it wasn't smashed to rubble. He's gone a Doom Ball as his general with the command trait of Bestial Cunning, which means that after deployment he can pick 1 friendly reserve unit, and when this unit sets up, it sets up outside of 7 inches instead of your traditional 9 inches. And then he has the Brave Blast Trumpet, which means that once per battle he can call on it, he rolls a dice, and on a 2-up he can bring in either a unit of 10 Ungors, 10 Gors, 10 Ungors, or 10 Ungor Raiders. If he rolls a 1, it still happens, but it happens a turn later, so essentially they're delayed. Battle line wise, he has 3 units of 10 Ungors and then 9 Bulgors, which we have seen before, and they do hurt when they hit. He then has a Chaos Gargant coming in to kind of create some synergies in there. 6 Sangor Enlightened, another 6 Sangor Enlightened, and he comes in with a Battle Reg, being 2k on the nose and 2 drop. Jason, the only Beast of Chaos army here, what are your thoughts?
9 Bulgors, 600 points in 1 unit, but they hit so hard.
Yeah.
Once again, I've seen this more and more actually. Be'lakor coming in as an ally. It's interesting how he is coming back now, because for a while you didn't see him.
No.
Apart from that, I mean, the Ungors are fairly standard. Chaos Gargant is an interesting thing, but I mean, he's a big creature. It works quite well in this army. Zangor Enlightened, I haven't fought them, but I have heard from other people they hit a lot harder. They are a lot harder to shift than you would imagine. They hit hard, so
yeah,
you can't complain at those at all. But yeah, it's the fact that it's got Be'lakor in there that I just want to see how Be'lakor works in all these armies. I don't know if it's people testing it out or if there's something that I'm missing with this Be'lakor in armies. But it'll be once again interesting to see. But Beast of Chaos in itself is a really strong army at the minute, if played correctly.
If played correctly, yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing to consider as well, guys, the Chaos Gargant, whilst it is 12 wounds on a 5-up save, it does have an Aura of Foulness ability, which is a -1 save bubble 3 inches, so when it's in combat, already a -1 to the enemy. And it also has the ability of Whipped into the Frenzy. So at the start of the combat phase, if the Gargant is within 6 inches of its friendly units, it gets +1 attacks across its melee weapons. So nothing to be pushing aside or anything. Yeah, it's a traditional list of Beast of Chaos, and with its new book, well, newish book, it's great to see that it's playing out in the true sense of how Beast of Chaos should be played out. And it's nice to see an army that is being built to represent that. So yeah, I think it has opportunity here on this one. I agree with you, Jason. I don't understand the Be'lakor mentality at 340 points, but then again, you and I are far from Chaos players, so we probably are missing something there. But yes, Samsa, we hope you do well. As we come into the final furlongs with the last 3 lists, we then hit Toby Thomas with the Flesh Eater Corps, and I think Toby's also the only Feck player here. He's coming in with the Hollow Morn sub-faction, which essentially means that you can reroll wound rolls of 1 for attacks made by with melee weapons by friendly courtier units and knight units within this army after they've made a charge in the same turn. He's gone with the Baron Ice Cape spell, so no enemy units within 6 inches of the centre of the battlefield. He then comes in with...
again, because I missed something on the previous one.
Oh, go on.
It's all enemies with artifacts are killed and no enemies
within 6 inches. No enemy units within 6 inches of the centre of the battlefield.
That's probably why Nurgle took it.
Nurgle took the other option.
I missed that one off.
More control for the Nurgle player, yeah.
Yeah. Basically, I understand that now perfectly.
We then have a rather scary list here on this one. I've been a victim of it in horrific manners. He's got an Abhorrent Ghoul King on the Royal Terrorgeist as his general with the command trait of Grave Robber, which means he adds 1 to the attacks characteristic and damage characteristic of his general's melee weapons, while his general is within 3 inches of any enemy heroes with an artifact of power. He has the artifact of Corpse Fane Gauntlet, which is after this model has made a charge move, you can pick 1 enemy unit within 1 inch of this model and roll a dice, and on a 2-up they suffer D3 mortal wounds. Mount trait Gruesome Bite makes total sense. You can re-roll fail hit rolls for attacks made by the fanged maw of this mount, and then he has a flaming weapon. He then has Abhorrent Archregent with a Dermal Robe, which is add 1 to casting, dispelling, and unbinding rolls for the bearer. nice in his current GHP. He then has an abhorrent Ghoul King, just on foot. He then has, a second Ghoul King on Royal Terrorgeist with Spectral Host spell. And then he has a Crypt Haunter Courtier. He then has in the battle line 6 Crypt Horrors, 10 Crypt Ghouls, and a further 6 Crypt Horrors, and then the end of spell of Suffocating Gravetide. He has Core Battalion of Command Entourage Magnificent, Battle Regiment, 4 drops at 1970. There's one thing I want to point out on this one which killed my fast layers out so fast. Those Terrorgeists have Gaping Maw attacks. Basically, Gaping Maw attacks have this thing of hit rolls of 6 by the Gaping Maws do a flat out 6 mortal wounds. That's it. And when the Gaping Maw attacks, I think there are 4 attacks on each of the Gaping Maws, and he gets to re-roll hits with them. Yeah, that's painful. I've had units of Hearthguard disappear under that in one swoop, and then my leader of the Fire Slayers dies, fortunately, moments later. Jason, your thoughts at all?
I have never had to fight Royal Terrorgeists, even the hero version of it, and I know how powerful they are. I don't... If they get the charge rolls and the rolls they need, I don't know what really can hold up against it with the amount of force coming into them. Yeah, we've seen, I want to say similar lists, not exactly the same, similar lists do really, really well. Which is, it's just going to be a weird one because there's a lot of points involved with those 2 Royal Terrorgeists. That's like half the army, those 2 models, pretty much. But I think it's going to do well. A little bit of spellcasting, fine. I mean, Hoarfrost for this army is going to be big. It's big on most armies, but I think it could be really big on this one because they've got a lot of little attacks, and then the power of the Terrorgeist just will come through. Like I said, I struggled to get rid of your Hearthguard Berserkers before. And I saw you after 5 minutes, and just half your army was dead from similar to this. And it was just how the hell did that happen?
It shocked the hell out of me. I went to that table kind of confident, and then I was like, what happened? 2 bash rounds, and half my army was gone. The other thing to consider on this one though is like the archery, on the Archregents on the Terrorgeist, they can summon in a unit of 3 knights once per battle. On top of that, the abhorrent Archregent that he has in his army, once per battle, they can bring in a 1 Courtier, 3 knights, or 20 Crypt Ghouls. So they have capability of bringing more models onto the battlefield.
True.
This is an army that I underestimated and paid the price dearly for it. And I think Toby, if he knows how to use Flesh Eater Courts, being the oldest book now that we have available to us, it has caper, it has possibilities, it has power behind it with 2 Terrorgeists in there. So Toby, good luck with this one. I think you are the only Feck player. I hope you do yourself proud and the army proud, and good luck with this. We now move on to Thomas Kloros. He's bringing Nighthaunt with the Emerald Host, which means that, as we heard before the first batch round starts, he picks D3+1 enemy units, and then at the end of every battle round he rolls a D6, and on top they suffer D3 mortal wounds. His grand strat is Feed on Terror, which is when the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if 1 or more enemy units on the battlefield are terrified. In this instance, he's got Spirit Torment as his general, with the command trait of ruler of the Spirit Hosts, which means that once per battle at the end of your movement phase, you can pick 1 friendly summonable unit that has been destroyed, roll dice, and on a 4, a new replacement unit with half the models that comes on is added to your army. Set that unit up within 12 inches of the general, more than 3 inches away from the enemies themselves, so you can get in quite close. You then have a Nitrous Shroud on Ethereal Steed with the Light Shard of the Harvest Moon, which we've seen before. This one, there's once per battle at the start of the combat phase. You can say the bearer is going to do it, and basically it's a 12-inch aura with +1 to attacks for melee weapons. He then actually has Big Drop 4 Kicker in as a Gargant, as an ally. And then he has a Guardian of Souls with Hoarfrost and the Midnight Tone. The Midnight Tone being a wizard-only option. And once per battle, if the bearer attempts to cast a spell that was summon and the spell is automatically cast with a casting value of 12 and cannot be unbound. Battle line wise, he has 20 Chain Wasps, 10 Chain Wasps, 10 Chain Wasps, and 20 Grimghast Reapers. A black coach, some Mirmon Banshees for a sprinkling of delight against those endless spells and spell casting capabilities, and the Shaiish Reaper endless spell, which, if anyone's curious on this one, this is a casting value of 6 and a setup area of 6 inches. It's predatory and moves 8 inches as normal spells would do. And then he rolls 2 dice for each unit it passes over when moving. Add 1 if they were terrified when it happened. For each roll greater than the unit's save, they suffer D3 mortal wounds. Jason, what are your thoughts?
I keep going on for the allies at the minute because, in general, the army is a nice army. I mean, you've got a bit of power there. You've got speed. You've got numbers. You have got that once ability, or is it once per turn or once per battle ability to bring a unit back? That's a command trait.
Once per battle.
Once per battle. But even then,
yeah.
you use it on one of your units. You bring back 10 Chain Rasps or 10 Grimghast Reapers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Gargant. Once again, I keep getting caught up on some of this stuff because they're such weird additions to armies, but it works. He is a big, heavy model, which may actually be really good in the Nighthaunt army, considering they're all generally ethereal, fine, but lower wound.
Well, 1 wound for most of them.
Model count, all that sort of stuff, yeah. So having something that's, a lot of wounds and just sits on an objective and smashes things that come near it, it could be really, really good.
Yeah.
I think. I'll be interested to see. Like I said, I'm really interested in seeing how some of these ally units work in certain armies.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have to ask a few questions afterwards of how they felt. But yeah, so it's a decent enough list. It's got the right buffs and everything in there, so yeah.
Absolutely. The other thing I'll point out as well, the Mirmon Banshees, they have the ability of basically, they roll 2d6 each time an enemy wizard casts a spell, and it's within 12 inches of these lovely ladies. Add 1 if there's more than 3 models within the unit, which normally there is. Basically, if it's greater than the casting value, the spell is unbound, or endless spell is unbound. So, great. Thumbs up on that one. Additional capability of doing that on top of what they normally do. Thomas, it'll be really interesting to see how that giant fares for you with the Nighthaunt army. As we can see, there's Nighthaunt do struggle at times, so it's nice to see a heavy block there, kind of providing a bit more boost on that one. And good luck to you with that, because it seems like it could do well. We're now on to the penultimate list with Tom W.H. Bell bringing Big War. He has gone with the Big War faction, which essentially means that Cruel Boy, they can use Cruel Boy's Venom and Crested Weapons. Ironjaws get to do the Mighty Destroyers, and Bone Splitters get the War Paint. They also get to use the Wild Points, which they both build up at the time. Grand Strategy is War, which means at the end of the battle they have to have a general or battle line unit wholly within the enemy territory. Hero-wise, he's gone Gordrak, the Fist of Gork, so a lovely Maw Crusher in there. Orc War Tranter with Get and Beat, and another one with Fix and Beat. He's then got a good old Stink Eye Wargold Prophet with his glowing tattoos, giving him a 4-up ward and a Hoarfrost spell. He then has, as his general, the Killer Boss and Great Gnash Tooth with the command trait of Skilled Leader, which means at the start of the hero phase, roll d6, and on a 5-up you get an extra command point. Amulet of Destiny is 6-up ward save, and then he's got the Fasten, which means the hero phase move. He then also has Gobsback in there as well, giving him the benefit of the doubt from the magic side of things. Battle line wise, 10 Auric Brutes, 5 Auric Brutes, 10 Gut Rippers, 10 Slitters, and then 20 Moon Clan Stabbers. With the core battalions of Warlord and Wizard Finders, which he's actually put the Brutes in there, and also the Auric War Chanter. I think just because he has to put one in there. 11 drops, 2,000 points on the nose. What are your thoughts then, Jason?
I think it's a really nice collection of all of the best models.
Yeah.
Gordrak, so effectively an Iron Jaws Maw Crusher. You've got the Wergog Prophet from Bone Splitters, love it. You've got Gut Rippers, you've got Hopgrot Slitters, you've got the Killer Boss and Great Gnash Teeth. All like those big units that are pretty much, I won't say an auto tape, but pretty much going to go into each of the factions all in one. I think it's a really nice list.
Yeah.
I think it's weird taking Stabbers, but then I think it's possibly more because of their 9-inch objective grabber when there were 20 or more.
Exactly what I'm thinking. Yeah.
So you can sit that a little bit further out and just grab objectives. And I can't deny it. That is a really good tactic. You know, sitting 9 inches out. It's, you know, you're well out of range. You have something in front of you. You can just add on to something already on the objective.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, like I said, he's got the best of most of the factions there. So I really do like this list.
It's a lovely pick and mix.
Yeah.
And like you said, yeah, Moonclown Stabbers, for those who don't know, whilst there's 20 or more models in their unit, they can contest objectives up to 9 inches out instead of the traditional 6. And trust me, when you work out a difference between a 6-inch pizza and a 9-inch pizza, that's a hell of a lot more extra space to be contesting in. Overall, though, like you said, he's got a lot of punch power capability. He's got a capability of protecting himself, and he's also got the movement with the monsters there as well. And with the Wergog, he's got that swinginess that we all love and hate to see. With it all, Wizard Finder's in there, nice little addition to that one. And overall, it's a comfortable and very confident Big War army there. Tom, sir, we hope you do well. And good luck. And now we go into our final list, I do believe. And I just want to say thank you very much, everybody, for sticking with us as we go into this one. We're now with Tony Kirby with the Soulblight Gravelords Legion of Night list. What an army list to finish on. Okay, I'm going to try doing this through gritted, smiley teeth. Not because it's late, but because of what we're about to read out. Legion of Night. Once per turn, you can charge in the enemy's charge phase. Great sub-faction. Spellcasting Savant is keeping Antorian Locust General alive. Great. He's got Vampire Lord as his general with the Unbending Will, which means basically models that are summonable count as 2 for objectives instead of 1, whilst they're wholly within 12 inches of him. He then has Morbeg's Claw, which we see quite often at the moment, which means that in the hero phase, as long as you're more than 3 inches away from enemies, you can essentially say that you will not move, but instead all friendly wizards wholly within 12 inches get +2 to the casting. But the caveat to this one is they cannot move, run, retreat, or charge until your next hero phase of that model. He then has Nagash coming in, saying howdy ho to the tournament scene for this tournament. And then he has Necromancer with Merciless Blizzard. Breathe here, people. Let's breathe through this. We then have 60 zombies, 10 skeletons, and a corpse cart. And then he has the Unball Spell Portal because he's got Nagash there, and Nagash wants to wiggle his little finger a little bit further out than he does normally. At 2,000 points on the nose and 11 drops, the one thing to consider, as we all know, zombies have that prowess of the Mortal Wound bouncing back, but with the corpse card there, it has the potential of having the Unholy Lodestone added onto it, which gives +1 casting to friendly wizards wholly within 12 inches, or Balefire Brazier, which is a -1 to casting for all enemy wizards within 12 inches. But here's the thing and the reason why he's taking the corpse card. Locust of the Undead is a 12-inch wholly within aura for zombie units. Unmodified wound rolls of 6 cause a mortal wound in addition to the damage they normally do. So not only are they doing mortal wounds when they are dying, they are doing mortal wounds potentially when they are attacking. And then with the likes of Nagash there, potentially brings models back at a point, and the Necromancer, I assume. This is a list I expect could do very well. Your thoughts, Jason?
If I was going to say about the corpse card, I was wondering why people didn't do it at the LGT so much.
Yeah.
Because 60 zombies, okay, they're on a 6-up save. 1 wound on a 6-up save. That's not the point. They go in there, they hit, they do mortal wounds, they die, they do mortal wounds. It's horrific. I love it for that precise reason of how they're buffing them up. It's zombies still, though. It's... Yeah. You send something in there, you could probably clear that unit, but then you're going to have, 60 dice on a 5-up does a mortal back to you.
Yeah,
Everyone
averaging 20. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to put this out here. Yeah, it's certainly not. It's certainly nothing. Whenever we've said this about the LGT one. When we say here now and everything, it's nothing against the actual individual playing it. Games Workshop are the ones that are fault on this one for creating such a chaff unit that are doing so much exponential mortal wound output. So use it while you can. Yeah, use it because it's legit, it's legal, it's allowed, and it's welcome. So it's just our personal thoughts on this one. Games Workshop needs to do a little bit more on that one, just to tidy up the capability of the zombies. Any other thoughts there, Jason?
It's a good solid list. Big numbers. Nagash himself with the spell portal, he's going to do his work no matter what.
Yeah.
We've seen lists like this do well. We've seen lists like this in the nice way fail as well. But it's all about how can you get through 60 zombies without killing half your army in the process. And Nagash, after those two are gone, that's the army done.
Yeah.
Nice way, but you've got to get through 60 zombies and Nagash, which is a challenge in itself.
Absolutely.
But no, if played correctly, it could do really well. If you go up to someone, if someone fights into the zombie, say, not knowing what they can do, it can do really well.
Yeah.
I
will just point out it's not 11 drop. I think that's another boo-boo on Peter's front, so apologies, Peter. It's actually a 1 drop. I was just thinking, I was like, there's not 11 units there. How is it 11 drop? It's a 1 drop. Tony, aside from what we said, so please don't take that personally or anything. This is just our personal thoughts on the SBGL. We do hope you do well, though, with this one, because it's a great army to be running at the moment. They have a lot of prevalence and the capability to get you the wins. And we really hope you do. Good luck with your army. And with that, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, that is us done. It's taking a little bit longer than I thought, so I do apologise. And if you have stayed with us for this 3-hour stream, thank you so much. We really appreciate your support. If you're happy to leave a follow so you can keep up with us, please do so, because it helps us out as we attempt to get to affiliate stage here on Twitch. If you're watching this on YouTube on playback, hit that like button because it helps other people find us. And if you have any thoughts or comments, we'd love to hear them. At the same time, though, Jason, thank you so much for going through this with me. And also going out to Peter at Woehammer. We really hope you have a fantastic weekend with your tournament, sir. And we hope it goes really well. And to all of you who are going yourselves, I hope we both hope you have a fantastic time there playing the 5 battle rounds. You've got a great setup there. And fingers crossed for a really successful and positive weekend for you guys. Any last thoughts then, Jason?
Just say good luck, and if the Giants player is listening, let me know how it goes.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great night, and we'll see you again. Goodbye.
Catch everyone later. Bye.